ਸੋ ਇੱਕ ਮੇਰਾ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਮ ਕਰੂਗਾ
ਕੀ
ਸੋ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ
ਹਮ,
ਕੌਣ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਲੌਗਸ ਵੈਬਬੁੱਕ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ
ਨਹੀਂ
ਐਨੂੰ ਦਾ ਜੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਇੱਥੇ ਲੌਗਸ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਆਹ
ਹਾਂ
ਸੋ
ਦੇਖਿਆ ਤਾਂ
ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ
ਯਾਰ
Guys, so you can see how everything works.
Time for Apex Legends to once again mark its presence at the Esports World Cup. But before we land in Paris, let's take a closer look at the exact format of the ALGS 2026 Split 1 playoffs. 40 of the best ALGS Pro League teams from the Americas, EMEA, APAC North, and APAC South regions shall take to the stage and throughout 5 intense days battle for a share of a $2 million prize pool. The competition is divided into 3 stages: group stage, survival stage, and match point finals. First comes the group stage, where our teams are split into 4 even groups. The groups battle each other in a round-robin format, at the end of which 14 top teams advance straight to the finals. The games continue until one team reaches 50 points and then secures a victory in a subsequent match, crowning them the champions. The remaining teams are then ranked based off of the points they earned throughout the final stage. And there you have it. All that's left now is to see who will be able to climb all the way to the top.
If you're familiar with the Esports World Cup, then the Key Crusher will be a fond memory. And of course, this year, it's back. Each teams enter this ALGS Split 1 playoff will have a key, but when they are eliminated, then your key will be crushed, along with your hope and dreams of cementing your legacy into the ALGS history books. Oh, that's brutal. Yes, many of you will have seen keys crushed in last year's EWC streams, but our crusher works a bit differently. We don't simply crush your key, we eviscerate it. With razor sharp teeth spinning below, we like to make you known when you are eliminated from the competition. So stick around to see it in action.
The Esports World Cup, the most elite competition in the world. Its trophy system is built to match. The Club Championship Trophy, awarded to the one club that rose above the rest and reigned supreme across all EWC games. Every participant earns a key engraved with their name. That's their right to compete. Reigning champions hold a key unlike any other. The game trophy is the ultimate prize for every game's champion. Incomplete until a champion's key is inserted. The champion's key frame is locked into the totem, a stone marker of legacy. Etched with every
but in that
EWC
game, I think they need
champion.
to find a way to play through the Weaver
The
instead,
losing keys
apply
are
pressure on the
crushed.
Beast, eventually
The
look to
champion
gate.
claims 3, a personal reminder of who they defeated. The rest are preserved beneath the totem in resin. Every fallen contender captured forever. Will you be remembered or forgotten beneath the totem? At EWC, nothing is granted. Everything is earned.
Welcome to the Club Championship update brought to you by Aramco. Let's talk about how the Club Championship works.
To be eligible for the Club Championship, a team must place top 8 in at least 2 separate competitions. In order to win the Club Championship, a team needs to win at least 1 competition with average points being accrued by placement in each tournament.
Not only that, but there's $30 million on the line this time around. So let's talk titles that'll be playing in weeks 1 and 2. In week 1, we have Apex Legends, Valorant, Fatal Fury, and week 1 of Dota 2. In week 2, we have League of Legends, Free Fire, MLBB, MWI, and week 2 of Dota 2, with many more titles to come in the following weeks. But Eric, let's give everybody a recap of what happened in the 2025 Club Championship.
EWC 2025 consisted of over 2,000 players from 100 different countries and 200 different clubs, with $70 million being awarded and $27 million of that going to the top finishers in the Club Championship. Now, after 7 weeks of fierce competition, Team Falcons ended with 5,200 points with a first place finish across 22 different titles, and this ended up with top finishes in Overwatch 2 they won Overwatch 2 and top finishes in Dota 2, Chess, PUBG, Rocket League, and Counter-Strike.
And now we're back for EWC 2026, and those questions now remain. Will Falcons be the Club Championships champions yet again? Or will those top teams find themselves in a top spot one more time? Or will a new team make their mark in the history books of EWC? We'll find out over the next 7 weeks. For now, Apex Legends is about to kick off, and VK Gaming, the reigning champs, showing up with the same roster, are back. But we have some big powerhouses in the lobby as well, ready to claim that title. So the real question is, Eric, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get into it.
All right, it's rain day here with Falcons. Waltzy, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
You enjoying Paris?
Yeah, it's been an experience, to be honest. I've been sick, but it's been good.
You know, I have to ask, did you get through all right? I hope you didn't have a middle seat, because I can imagine the shoulders just don't fit next to two people.
Yeah, I always have to go window. I can't do middle. It's so bad. It's not bad for me. It's bad for the people next to me, too.
I had a middle, and I literally thought Waltzy could never do what I'm doing coming to Paris. All jokes aside, man, I want to talk a little bit about what your team needs this time around. What is the difference between how you feel you guys have sometimes been great, been favorites, and stumbled between now? Do you feel like you've answered the questions to yourselves and now are ready to prove it?
I think last lane we sort of went through the hardest sort of experience, which was like having the game in our hands and letting it slip. And then we've gone through a pretty like grueling pro league. So I think we're kind of just, we've gone through all the lows, and I think now is just like the time for the highs. I think we've experienced like, you know, what we shouldn't have done in Game 7 last lane. I think we've learned from it, and I think we're good to go. How
have you grown as a player? Because you came as the star of your team. You came as a guy representing Team Burger, as somebody who people said, this is Waltzy's team. Now you're a part of, admittedly, a bigger organization, a bigger team. You've got Imperial Hal, who many people say that's his team. You're a part of it. How have you learned to grow as a player to adapt and fit into that style so you guys can win?
I like winning, man. So it was pretty easy. It was, you know, you join Hal, who's like the #1 player in the game, and it's just, if you enjoy winning, you just follow him and try and help him as much as you can without getting in his way. So that's all I do.
I'm a dad. I'm leaving my child for a while. She's 17 months. I know you're about to be a dad. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have you felt a little more emotional? Has it added a little extra weight of importance to this event, knowing that, you know, you got someone who in future years is going to ask, hey, Daddy, how was it at that EWC? Did you win?
Well, we knew, so she was actually pregnant in Japan as well. So it's kind of been like, I felt it then, I feel it now. I feel like every event now I sort of have just something extra that I want to win for. So I definitely say it is a bit more emotion involved for sure.
It's a beautiful thing, man. I've loved seeing your growth. I think you guys are truly one of the top 2 favorites here. I'm excited to see you prove it on the main stage, though, coming up. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
What are you doing?
One of the trophies that Imperial Hal is currently missing here at EWC. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the year 6 of ALGS Split 1 playoffs at the 2026 Esports World Cup live in Paris. My name is the 7WG, but I'm not going to be doing this by myself. I'm joined by the amazing people that you have already seen some of them. Snipe Down, Blaze, but we haven't yet seen Graceful. Graceful, where have you been? Have you been enjoying Paris?
I have been enjoying Paris. It's been nice eating food, seeing people. It feels so alive here.
It does. I mean, yesterday we got a chance to go check out the Eiffel Tower. That was amazing. But going into the other aspect of this, I mean, Snipe Down, we just heard from Falcons as well, saying that they want to be able to win it. And for Imperial Hal, it will be amazing for him to finally get this trophy.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the biggest storylines to follow, because they've been so close so many times and always ending near that top. It's just really getting through that ladder. And, you know, we heard Walty in that Game 7. They've been through the ups. They've seen the downs. So now it's just putting that together, learning from the mistakes, and hopefully putting it all together for the biggest event of the year.
And it is going to be the first time for Imperial Hal that he's going to be playing at EWC without Zero. How do you think that's going to be able to affect him, even though he has already played tournaments without him?
I don't think it's going to affect him much. Have you seen the replacement? Guild, exceptional. What I was saying the other day is I feel like, you know, Waltzy's quite calm, but Guild's kind of like the calm in between those two. So he's like the peacemaker of the group. And yeah, I don't think that's any sort of downfall for the Falcons at all, having, you know, one out and Guild in.
Well, Falcons is looking to add another star there to their jersey, being able to become those club championships once again. Now, from all that, we're talking about all these squads. We'll be talking a lot more, too, in regards to all the squads that are going to be favorites to win it. But I want to check out that map rotation because we are going to be having Group A and Group B playing in the first 6 games. And you can see right there, we're going to have the first 3 is going to be none other than E District.
I mean, E-District is a beloved map as well as Stormpoint. Probably the both best maps to play where there's no real inconsistency to be shown. You know, both maps are so well planned out that you are able to play out the way that you have been pre-planning for this tournament.
Yeah, I love starting on E-District. You know, it is one of the newer maps still. A lot of people still somewhat figuring it out, but the ability to rotate and, you know, even with altars through walls and just getting to repositioning, it's just one of my favorite maps to watch from a spectator standpoint. And honestly, we're going to see who comes out hot and who can hold that into the Stormpoint maps.
It's not Olympus, so that's
yeah.
They're happy with that. You know, every pro player's like, Olympus is coming up, and you know what? I'm happy not to see Olympus. I'm sure the pro players are happy not to see Olympus there. So you know what, Seven? Yeah, that's a good
If it was Olympus, I want to see the notes that you have written down. If it's going to be along the lines of what the players have, see if we can get it.
This is what I think of Olympus.
It's just a nice little pig. Okay, there you go.
I feel like y'all came prepared, and I'm like, I drew a pig. I'm so ready for
It's a nice drawing, though.
Thank you. I did it standing up, so it's a little bit shaky, but that's okay. Okay. Anyway, don't judge me for my notes, guys.
Love our doodles.
Now, one team that is going to definitely we're going to be keeping an eye on, Snipe Down. I'm going to go with you to Zeta.
Yeah, I mean, Zeta Division, they absolutely dominated their region. It really wasn't even close. And, you know, we have Yuka, Mike, and Satuki. And this team, they had 3 first place finishes in back-to-back weeks in Pro League. And not only that, this is going to be Yuka's first event, not on Fnatic. So it's going to be very interesting to follow that storyline in itself. This team is an aggressive powerhouse. They had not only the most kills across every single region in all of Pro League, they had the highest damage differential in their region and the most placement points. So not only do they slay, they get to the end game and they win games. Now, my biggest concern for them is in the Pro League weeks, you know, you're not matched against everyone. You have a lot of people in a pool. When they went into these international scrims, they averaged 18th overall, which puts them pretty far back after how dominant they were. And the biggest concern there for me is their aggression in their region. They obviously dominate and are more individually talented than what their competition is. When they put that up against, you know, the North American powerhouses or the APAC South, whatever it might be, that aggression doesn't work as well because you have other teams playing Edge who are just as strong as they are, and that same style might not work. So it'll be very interesting to see how they adapt going into these future matches in this tournament, and we'll see round by round if they can, you know, adapt and continue that dominance that they showcased all year.
Well, we'll definitely have to wait and see if they are going to be able to adjust here to EWC. But now the one I'm going to be looking at, Graceful, is I'm going to be looking at TIE. What can they do here at the Esports World Cup?
I mean, for everybody at home that knows me, I always talk about being consistent. And this is the opposite side of the spectrum. They had a really rough Pro League where they actually went into regional finals on 20th, I believe. The only way they made it here was to win the whole thing. They won the whole thing for their region. And when you're able to have that thing that I'm mainly looking for out in teams, that we always talk about, there's different stages of group, survival, and then eventually final stages. I'm talking about grit. I'm talking about perseverance. Are you able to stick it out through the things when all the odds are stacked against you, are still able to keep your head up high and work through it? This is one of the teams that made it here. I'm so proud of them. Umi-chan, Peanut, and also F-chan. I hope he brought out the real guns as well. His biceps for everybody that loves him. So hopefully they can showcase that they're here for a reason. Even though it might have been a little bit slippery, they're still here.
Okay, well, let's see if they also have what it takes to make it to the next stage, right? Or if they're going to end up going to Survivor. You don't want to be in the bottom 6 because after the group stage, you're just going to be going home. But quick little touch-up, actually. I want to talk about Gen G. You got a chance to talk about it earlier, but I know you want to deep dive down a little bit more in it.
Let me add it, Seven. Look, I absolutely adore this team, okay? You know, I'm not going to give you the analytical standpoint, but I do want to touch on a little bit of what Snipe said about those sort of edge-playing teams, and that's Gen G. You know, we were saying that, you know, APAC North, APAC South have such a different play style to our America teams, so will that fit in nicely? But then, what if we have so many edge-playing teams that, you know, these American teams are like, where my KP at? I don't know, I do want to see that. But look, Gen G, Ziki, Aegis, Dexter. one of the longest standing teams that have collectively played together. Like, they have not swapped in or out different players over the time that I have been watching them, you guys have been watching them at home. So, you know, this team is an edge roller powerhouse. I just said before, they just got off the plane. Asia's just turned up about an hour ago. So that's the dedication that I know Gen G can have. And plus, look, I'm not going to like rile some feathers just a little bit, but that kind of controller M&K debate, Asia's is like the best M&K player. So
okay.
I'm just, will they win? I don't think so, but I think they'll qual.
Don't worry, we'll have a lot more time to talk about all of this. Those has been your PS5 stories of the day. And for everybody currently watching at home, make sure you guys go to the EWC website, go to the EWC app, give us some of your predictions, and on social media, let us know some hot takes. Send us some memes because we might end up showing some of your stuff here on this broadcast. I saw when she was mentioning something, Grace, I saw you wanting to reply to what she was saying. Is there anything you wanted to say?
I mean, the moment she said roller versus MK, you know, I'm getting passionate. I'm getting hot about it, you know. But we have to
outside
say,
at 3 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, outside at 3 p.m. No, I'm really hyped to see because we've always had this debate, you know. Why have so many people been swapping over inputs? For a reason, probably. But we keep seeing these shining stars right there. Asia as an example, no name as well in the tournament. People are really looking up to that. It's still possible if you put in the effort and all of that hard work, and it could pay off, you know. And I hope it really does.
Well, No Name coming in as the MVP from his region. One team, you know what, let's switch it up. Let's stop talking about favorites. Earlier, we got a chance to just brush up really briefly on Falcons. But I know one team that you want to talk about, Snipe Down. It's none other than Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah, I've talked about this team constantly, but I think the adaptation of just their playstyle has been really fun to watch. They went from a kill-heavy team, and even talking to Hal in the past, it was just a bunch of guys playing ranked, running around the map who were just better than everyone else. And I think for the first time, this team has come together. They had two really rough weeks at the start of Pro League, but that was due to technical issues. And honestly, after that, their average placement for the remainder of 4 weeks and finals was 4th. So going that far, not only that, they were 3rd overall in kills, 3rd overall in damage differential as teams, but the biggest thing that I noticed, #1 in overall placement, all of North America teams, which is not what you would expect out of the Shopify team, which is kill heavy. So I think that's going to be the biggest difference. It seems like, you know, Zainu's got the IGLing down, more comfortable, more trust within that team, because you never know after their poor performance at the last event. You know, sometimes teams, you know, they lose that faith, they lose that confidence. They did not, and Zainu's just the type of player that, you know, he takes that, he learns, and he comes out stronger. So I'm be very interested to follow that storyline at this event.
Let's switch a little bit, right? Favorites. Earlier we were talking about underdogs, and I know there was one team that came to mind for you, Grace.
I mean, you know, if you're talking about underdogs specifically, you kind of have to go with the boys from EMEA, you know. I'm talking about none less than who exactly am I talking about?
Oh, don't worry, I got you. Here, let me see real quick.
Do you want my notes?
Yeah, give me your notes. It's none other than oh yeah,
Doodleball.
Don't worry, we forgot. we left our notes back there. We're just gonna have to draw some more pigs all over around. But you know what? We'll come back to that one because one team that definitely we want to touch up, and you kind of touch up on already, is No Name with Wolves. This is another team that can be favorites. I was actually getting the chance to ask No Name, are you going to be able to adjust your gameplay here for EWC? To say, yeah, we definitely got what it takes. I see us being able to be one of those teams that gets that match point.
Yeah, well, look, Wolves Esports, they're pretty much strong and heavy hitters. And yes, we were talking about No Name, and you know, we want to see a lot of people thrive. But this is someone that's so consistent that has just been working incredibly hard, and I think kind of deserves that little shine, that little light upon them. But look, when we look at like Apex South and those sorts of stuff, it is chaos. APAC North too, like it is such a different ball game. I feel like in our regions that it could make or break. It could make or break them. Like he could come here and he could shine, but I also feel like it might be detrimental. And once you sort of get in that headspace and you're like, this is not working for us, we haven't practiced anything else, it's not really going to work out for them. But look, I still feel like it's going to, Name's going to do great.
Okay, well, from Group A and Group B, because this is the first 6 matches that we're going to be getting out of those 2 groups. You know what? Very quickly, let me know of somebody that you think is going to be the MVP out of those 2 groups today. Snipe, I'm going to go with you first.
Honestly, I mean, let's just go with Asia. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I hope the
Men's jet lag.
Yeah, let's do it.
He deserves it.
Even better.
Grace?
I'd probably go with, I think
Trigger ਨੂੰ
Prestige.
ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਹੀ
Yeah,
ਮਿਲਿਆ
okay.
ਹੈਗਾ।
Yeah, probably Prestige, yeah.
मैं तो करने लगा है
I'm an Asia's fan. I'm sorry, like I'm not a fair girl. Like he's just incredible to watch. I don't mean to copy your homework,
No, I
but
love it.
you know, I feel like I'm super excited.
Okay, I'm not an expert, but I'm gonna go with no name. But you know what? I think we are ready for the starting ceremony. So let's send it over to none other than Barney.
ले वो तो ट्विच पे विक्की करे वाली थी ना
अच्छा
ऐटा ना पढ़ के मैं जाने भी खाने बड़ा होना पे अंदर कोई टीम में पाउंड लगी है एंट्री चाकू
ਕੀ ਲੱਭਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਤੂੰ ਸਨੈਪੀ
ਲੋਡਿੰਗ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਹੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ
ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹਨੇ ਉਹ ਬਣਾਈ ਆ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਲਾ ਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨੇ ਕਵਰ ਆਰਟ ਜਿਹਾ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ NX19 ਵਾਲਾ ਕਵਰ ਆਰਟ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਲਾ ਦੇ ਚਾਹੇ
थोड़े शर्म हो के मैं मेरी स्ट्रीम ही खोल लूँ
अरे क्या बोलो
40
तो वो लोग बस करी कर जाते होली हुआ Yes.
Mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue à l'Esports World Cup, bienvenue au play-off du Split 1 des ALGS.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have now arrived at the very beginning of the most epic journey in esports.
Pendant 5 jours de compétition, des joueurs venus du monde entier vont s'affronter sur cette scène. Dans leur région, ils sont les meilleurs, mais seront-ils capables de prouver qu'ils sont les meilleurs au monde?
120 players, 40 teams, and $2 million on the line. Behind
that
that very
Spanish
curtain,
lege na thode yaad
waiting to
kidan
step out
Spanish
onto the arena, we have champions, MVPs, veterans, and rookies looking to make a name for themselves.
Évidemment, ils veulent tous marquer l'histoire de l'EWC, tous marquer l'histoire d'Apex Legends et repartir avec ces 2 millions. Mais ce qu'ils veulent vraiment,
that stunning trophy.
Je suis Lutti et je serai votre host pour tout le WC avec l'incroyable Barney.
My name's Barney Banks and I am your host alongside the incredible Luti. And without any further delay, we are now ready to introduce your first 2 groups to the main stage, starting with TIE.
Okay, this is a new team.
Flat!
Dory!
Kirisame Avog!
ਟਕਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਨਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ
ਉਹ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੋਏ ਚਲਾਵਾਂ ਕਿ ਨਾ
ਕੀ ਚਲਾ
ਨਹੀਂ ਯਾਰ ਲੋਡਿੰਗ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਲੱਭ ਰਿਹਾ ਬਸ ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਲਗਭਗ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਕੋਈ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਲੋਡਿੰਗ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਪਾ ਦਈਏ
15 ਉਹ ਚਾਰਜ ਦੀ ਕਾਹਨੂੰ ਸਨੈਪੀ ਚੇਤਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਸਰਵਰ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਪਲੇਅਰ ਦਾ ਨਾਂ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦਾ ਸਰਵਰ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਪਿੰਕ ਰੈਡੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਬੈਕਗ੍ਰਾਉਂਡ ਸੀ ਦੇਖੋ ਵੈਰੀ ਬੇਸਿਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਬੇਸਿਕ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰੇਨ ਮੈਟ ਵਾਲਾ ਸਰਵਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਜੁਆਇਨ ਕਰੇ ਸੇਮ ਸਕਿਨ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਆ ਗਿਆ player name welcome to the server orange ਏਦਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਲਿਖ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦਾ
Team Heretics. Trinity. Genji Esports.
ਉਸ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਸਿੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਸੌਖਾ ਸਿੱਖਣਾ ਆਪਣੀ ਸ਼ੌਪ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਸਮਾਨ ਪਾਤਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਸ ਸੈੱਟ ਕਰਤਾ ਇਹ ਉਹ
ਕੋਡਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਨੌਲੇਜ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ
ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਬ్రో ਕਿ ਕੀ ਤੇ ਕੀ ਪਿਆ
ਮੈਂ ਕਰਦਾ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੈਸੇ
ਉਹ ਚੈੱਕ ਕੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ
ਮੈਂ ਕੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਸਾਲਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ
ਉਹੀ
ਬਥੇਰਾ ਜੋੜ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਜੁੜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਾ
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਤੇ ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ ਨਹੀਂਗਾ
ਕੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਾਗਰੇ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਹਵਾ ਚ ਕੀ
ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਜੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਾਇਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਲਾਇਆ ਬਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਗੱਡੀਆਂ ਟੂਨ ਕਰਨ ਬੈਠਾ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ
bro ਸਿਰਾ ਮੈਂ ਤੇ ਬੱਲੀ ਬੈਂਚ ਤੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੱਲੀ ਦਾ
ਪੱਕ ਮੈਂ ਸਜਾਇਆ ਸੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਰਥਡੇ ਵਿਸ਼ ਦਾ ਬਟ ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਬ్రో ਘੱਟ ਵੱਧ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ
busy and yeah, for life.
Canada, bro, you know.
It's yeah, bro.
Okay, Brampton.
Yep.
ਹਾਲੇ ਤਾਂ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਤਾਂ ਖੋਲ ਲੈਣੀ 5 ਵਜੇ ਪਰ 6 ਵਜੇ ਜਾਣੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਪਾਉਣ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਤਾਂ ਫੋਨ ਹੀ ਆਣਗੇ ਡੈਡੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗਏ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਫੋਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਫੋਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਹੈ ਫੋਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਪੈਸੇ 6 ਵਜੇ ਦੇ ਲੱਗ ਸਕਦੇ 6 ਵਜੇ ਯਾਦ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਜਾਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਪਾਲੇ ਦੇ ਦੀਪੂ ਵਾਲੇ ਦੇ ਮੂਹਰੇ ਦੀਪੂ ਵਾਲੇ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਦੀਪੂ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਹੁਣ ਦੀ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਡੈਰੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਅਮਰ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਅਮਰ ਪੱਟੀ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਮੁਰੇ ਹੈ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਦੀਪੂ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਹੁਣ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੋਰ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਈ ਪਾਉਣ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ
ਡੈਡੀ ਦਾ ਨਾ ਕਿਉਂ ਜਾਣਾ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂ
and where the next generation are inspired. And so, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Gdynia City Grid in the Port de Versailles, in the heart of Paris. Welcome to the ALGS Split 1 Playoffs.
Paris, nous y sommes. Voici le premier événement majeur en France. Bienvenue à l'EWC. Bienvenue aux playoffs des ALGS.
ਭੈਣ ਚੋਦ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਦੂਜੀ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਤੋਂ ਪੈਸੇ ਪਾ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਚਲ ਵਿਹਲੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਰੁਪਈਆ ਦਾ ਬਚਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨਾਲ ਮੱਥਾ ਮਾਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਇੱਥੇ
Welcome everybody to the mid-season playoffs at EWC Year 6 here in Paris. I'm Vicky Kitty. I'm joined with my homegirl Spider Tiff, and today we get to see day one kickstart the action in Paris.
Yeah, I'm kind of reeling with energy, right? We were wreaking havoc during media day yesterday, just kind of getting a feel for how everyone is situated. But watching those walkouts, seeing all the energy in the arena, let me just tell you, this is about to be a great week.
Oh yeah, man, it's crazy to see not only the crowd that was lined up outside, getting ready to see our pros face off against each other to kick off groups A and B. But it's also a testament to how these teams have been able to make the adjustments that they've had to make leading up to the big stage event.
Yeah, it's so interesting, right? I talked to a ton of players yesterday, and I was like, I dubbed it as weird, and I quote unquote, year 6 ALGS has just felt different. I don't know if it's because it's incredibly more open when it comes to a lot of our young up-and-coming talent that has all the roster swaps, right? I'm looking at JD Gaming, you saw floating there for a second, but that's just one name that is looking to put themselves into the history books of ALGS.
You gotta bring him over, right, Tiff?
I'm not your fangirl or anything. Shh, no, floating didn't hear that.
Oh man, it's crazy. I mean, not only you know, floating and the boys out here that have made their way over to Paris, but we have to also take a look at what is really important for these teams to get that kickstart in the group stages, which is the POI draft that we had not so long ago to situate our teams as we are starting our first match on E-District.
Yeah, we truly are, and it's pretty wild, right? Zeta Division, they landed with some pretty solid choices, right? Because they were pretty high up on the prio. But I thought it was really interesting that the first 8 picks actually went restart later today. It was Team Gaming that broke the habit and actually picked E-District first. So love that they come in after a win on regional finals and say, look, we are coming out strong on E-District. And they did pick something that was a little atypical for them. They did grab Heights, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see how they do from there, considering they played regional finals from Shipyard Arcade, in which they did really well.
It's crazy, too, to see how a lot of these zone pools have been detrimental to the teams that may not be able to excel when it comes to these slower rotates, the quote-unquote unlucky teams when it comes to some of the zone pools that we even saw coming out of Pro League, and what we could expect to see that change from those teams that have been able to make that adaptation when it comes to some of the side questing that we've seen. Being one of the teams that actually comes to mind when it comes to some of those zone pools is actually Team Falcons.
Okay, yeah, look, I think they're a really solid team to start about. They were looking pretty hot in scrims, and a lot of people are like, hey, are they one of our clear favorites coming in? And I'm like, dude, what era is it? How many times have we talked about the Falcons and them like not being a major title contender? They are going to be some heavy hitters. So they've got Stadium locked in. You can see it's over there on the east side of E-District. Now, the majority of zones that I've commentated when it comes to E-District, Vicky, actually drog up to that City Hall side of things.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Tiff, because it's been these northwestern pools on E-District where a lot of these teams having to traverse through these really tight chokes on E-District, seeing how the legend compositions kind of kickstart from scrims over to now how we have a big match on our hands to kick things off for some of the teams that like to build up into that momentum. Lots of Alter, lots of Crypto. It's E-District. You could expect some maybe kidnapping shenanigans with the Alter TP, but also grieving opportunities here when it comes to the free insurance policy of the reset that the Alter allows you to have.
Yeah, we'll just have to see what people are going to break out when it comes to that initial game one. There's a lot of nerves that are going to be floating around this arena. It's like you just got to get your good game out early in a series like this in the group stages, especially when we have that survivor stage on the line after our round robin groups. You don't want to find yourself in the bottom 6 teams early on, but it's just the start, right? You just kind of see what happens. And Team Falcons starting from Stadium, great. If we do pull up towards that northwestern side, you're going to be rotating through teams like Gaming Gladiators, JD Gaming. We talked about them. This is Naughty's first LAN in which he's IGLing.
Oh my goodness.
It sounds crazy, right?
Actually.
And you're throwing Shubi and floating into the mix, and the best part about it is I was watching the Apex pod because they do a ton of research and talk about all the groups and their predictions. We won't talk about their predictions. Sorry, Wyatt, my guy. Sometimes they're bad. But floating in particular, he used to be that IGL on a former team, right? So joining Naughty's IGL, and he always a fragger with a brain, Vicky, that could be why they're excelling really well.
I mean, that's what happens too when you're bringing in experience, right? You have all these years of Pro League under your belt. Now you bring in the crazy left field hitter that is floating. We got to see so much of him in formerly Twerkaholics coming out of the ALGS Open, which is such a lovely story. I always like to highlight this because for those of you guys watching at home, that is a great example in following a player's journey into being able to make it pro, to make that climb and find that bridge between what you find yourself in your own grind into Pro League to be alongside these legends on the stage.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, Vicky. I mean, I was born and raised in the Challenger Circuit era, commentating down there, preseason qualifiers. But to get to these level of stages years later, I mean, most of our younger players have been dreaming of watching and playing along legends like how.
It's going to be tough, especially when you look back at Team Falcons and how they've been able to put on a performance within scrims. You know me, Tiff. I always take scrims with a little grain of salt here, but it's, you know, kind of like in the looking glass, right? When it comes to digging into the action, I get to hear the family of the players that are in the crowd, giving them their energy. Something else as the days progress, everybody. The French crowd is honestly so unmatched.
We are playing,
the energy when it comes to competing in a French environment here, man. They bring the loudness like no other, I feel. But with all of our legends geared to go, getting a nice little look at the crowd here themselves. But it's going to be exciting, right? You know, being able to see a lot of these players that were able to fly in early. Some players that flew in just a few hours ago.
Hey, they were hyping up Gen G on the desk early on. You mentioned a few hours ago. I think I saw a tweet for like literally 3 hours ago. They were still in the car. I slept 2 hours. Let's do it. But here's the deal. A team like that is just going to come out swinging, and it could really shake up the lobby. And as we look a brief moment there at Shopify Rebellion, I got to give them my flowers. Throughout the regular split of year 6, I said it in an interview with Koi, actually. I was like, I was a Shopify Rebellion doubter. And I'm sorry, because you just
said it straight up to him.
Yeah, I did. Is that
okay.
My bad.
No, I mean, if anything, he's really appreciative when it comes to the honesty.
But I love when people prove me wrong.
Right.
And I did. I had my questions, my doubts about that roster because it seemed a little hectic, right? But they kept showing up. They kept putting the work in and ironing out those moments. And now, look, get back on the top of the stage, lift that trophy, and prove me wrong yet again.
Hey, when it comes to proving the doubters wrong, Tiff, it's about lighting a fire under a lot of these legends' butts. And that's what happens when the group stages also have something on the line. That's actually what I like when it comes to looking at the current format that we have here in the mid-season playoffs, as our legends are geared and ready to go, guys. I'm hearing the music in the background, and everybody has been loaded in. But while we get to go in and we get to highlight, you know, what the group stage provides before getting started with that first game, top 14 teams out of the 40 will be able to advance to the finals, right? So then when you take a look at the 15th to 34th placing spot, they then have to play through that gauntlet of a day of 10 games within the survivor stage. And we have to re-emphasize this, right? Because this is already what kickstarts how a lot of these teams are looking at the start of today with our first 2 groups.
You know, I asked if we had torches that we could snuff if we're going for a survivor stage. I could put on my best Jeff Probst if we I can make it happen.
Bring in the torch yourself. Hold on.
I might. Is there room for a torch in the caster booth? No, I'm just kidding. I digress.
हाँ,
We're just having a little bit of fun here on day
सर्वर वो
one
नहीं हैगा
as we
ਉਹਨੂੰ
get
ਕਨੈਕਟ
ready
नहीं करना
to
चाहिए
drop
वो
into
अंदर से
Group
देखिएगा
A
ब्रो
versus B. Now, we talked a lot about the Falcons. We briefly mentioned Shopify Rebellion, but there's just so many other teams that we really love to highlight. And when we spoke about gaming gladiators, that's when the crowd started lighting up. They have a ton of family out here, and you think back to, do you remember the team Ascend that took second place to TSM back in the day? You know, Lufka was on that roster, right? And now Lufka here on Gaming Gladiators, ready to lock it in. They've been kind of up there in the upper echelon, but haven't necessarily closed it out, right? But this could be a title contending team this week.
It's great to be able to hear the amazing support in the crowd here when you mentioned Gaming Gladiators. But, you know, a big matchup that I also have my eyes on is going to be Falcons versus Zeta Division. That's definitely something when it comes to how some of these rotates, or will we have those City Hall zones like you were mentioning, right? And it comes to how some of these teams have been able to make that rotation, whether it be Falcons coming out of Stadium side, and then looking ahead to see how their Zeta Division specifically will be coming out of Street Market, which won't be as resistant considering that they are already on the west side of E-District. But that is considering, Tiff, that it wouldn't be maybe a Humbert Lab zone that we've also seen plenty of times. So a lot on the line here too, but I like how you are able to highlight not only these different teams coming out of these different regions. Sonny looks so locked and loaded.
They're ready.
Girl, it's crazy.
I'm ready.
I'm ready when it comes to talking about stories. We talk about all these high echelon teams, but then specifically Ty who was able to make their way into this land. They were originally placed 20th, and being able to come out of the LCQ to actually qualify into something like this in the regional finals is just so beautiful to see, as a lot of our teams are just getting ready and waiting to load into our first game of the day.
Yeah, you mentioned TIE, right? And we kind of got a brief moment of their walkout. They were feeling really good about themselves. And that's interesting to me because we're talking about, you know, Hinota, F-Chan, Umi. So, like, these are players, especially F-Chan, that have been a staple in the ALGS scene since Raleigh, right? We're going all the way back then. ALGS chance that year, like 2022.
Okay,
That's 4 years ago, Vicky. I don't know where the time is going. But all two players, especially hailing from APAC North, have just spent year 6 kind of trying to level up, right? They undergo a massive roster swap at the head of the year. You talk about Zeta, right? I mean, dude, Yuka F without Fnatic is so wild. And we already talked about that, you know, months ago, but seeing the fruition of all that they've done to lock it in. Think about the regular split, right? Yuka hit 100 kills during the regular season. Mike on that roster, 99. And even though Suzuki there on the anchor still locked in so many kills, that is a firepower team. So if you're talking about them locking down Street Market and E-District, dude, if I'm flat in Viaduct, I'm like, let me just take the long way around.
And it depends on, you know, how that zone pool is going to influence a lot of the way that these teams want to take these early game fights, right? The teams that want to be able to display confidence, kind of set the stage for us, especially since we only have our first 3 games on E-District. And as you guys know, we're just waiting for our legends to lock in here, guys. But while we get set up, I'm hearing that we got some content here on the horizon before we get started for our very first game. It's here!
Taste your sinks, this is a game. It's not.
Okay, check.
Mic check, mic check.
All that matters is being the last
Down, waiting for shutdown.
Have you prepared for AM? I have. Good luck, have fun, don't die.
What am I getting for that?
The heat of the flame calls for us all.
waiting for shutdown.
एक बार एक काम करो 5M वो करके देखो वो जो joined in
Hope you're not afraid to get your hands dirty.
Okay, मुझे तो इससे मल्टी कैरेक्टर लोड नहीं हो रहा है. What could be the issue? What could be the issue?
PNG अपना इनर जनरेट करते हैं.
See your imperfections in your enemies and crush them.
F8 button दबाएं.
मौत बैठनी है F8 को.
नहीं मैं ले लिया F4 को.
रहा नहीं जाता.
Scroll up, yeah, scroll up.
This is what I was built.
Come on, buddy, come on. Okay, भाई कोई ना.
You and me, let's take this win.
Snappy characters.
With goosebumps and the pure Apex Legends experience, you could cue the John Williams music because I am ready to go, especially after watching a video like that one, Tiff.
What is it with those Apex Legends hype videos that just really get the blood flowing? I'm ready, right? The energy, it's there. It's who's going to be there at the end of the week, but we start with just one game and you take it game by game, day by day. You get out of the survivor stage, you lock in your ticket to that grand finals, but it all starts here.
You heard it. You heard the quotes here. They're getting ready, guys. Thank you so much for your patience. We want to make sure that everybody is ready to go to dive into our first game. And once again, for those of you guys just tuning in right now, our first 3 games will be played on E-District before we transition into the last 3 games of this first Group A versus B into Stormpoint.
I feel like a lot of teams are focusing on those last 3 matches of the day on Stormpoint to get the majority of their points, especially after you already figure out how is this lobby, what's the pace of play that we're looking at, what are our favorite bands that we're tossing those legends, right? We're getting them out, but we are just moments away. They're in that character select, they're looking at their legends, we're looking at who's going to be, you know, getting some crazy things. If something would be changing, I don't see any changes too much, right? I'm still seeing the cryptos, I'm still seeing the seers.
attempt to call a nil value field. Again, black screen,
you know, despite some of the changes that we've been seeing, man, that's done.
He still lives.
It's a little obnoxious. Sometimes it gives me a little bit of PTSD when I think back to season 10, but then I remember, you know, at least there's no damage coming out there, no silence, no canceling my reses, but it's still having that awareness as we get to see the fans in the crowd, Tiff.
That is always a great sight to see. If UKF has one fan, I am one of them. If he has a million, they're out there, to the ALGS and to kick things off here in game number 1 of A versus B. Let's get into it.
Let's get started, everybody. I'm seeing our legends are coming out of the dropship. It's going to be E-District as we get set up here at the ALGS Esports World Cup. It's our playoffs, and a lot of our legends I'm already seeing here, Tiff. Is this 100% pick rate on crypto?
I mean, it might be.
I'm not surprised, actually.
We're not surprised. These are things that we have been witnessing, but we'll likely get those legend bans right out of the way. So for the teams that are going to excel on E-District, let's make it happen.
Alrighty,
bro, I would love to buy your jersey.
Highlighted their POI coming out of stadium, having the split hold here too. You have the Evo Harvester over to their north side, as well as a survey beacon and that light arsenal. Saw a sniper arsenal too. And remember, what is this? It may not have been that northwestern zone, but it was the other half that we have seen plenty of times in the Pro League as we are taking a trip down Humbert Labs, and it's a
we are gonna be here for like
this
8
first
hours.
game because Team Falcons won't be traveling too far away from stadium.
9 hours
I don't know what it
almost,
is, but there's something to be said about a complete
And it's
southeastern
only
zone.
day
I'm
one.
a bit of a curse, but JDG, we talked about him, we hyped up Naughty's first time IGLing on land, Shuby and Floating, being some of those gunners to join alongside him, but they immediately face that resistance. Too many teams wanting access to the resources here.
And it's scary when Naughty's the first one down, right? You don't want to have your crypto being the first one out of the fight, and while this fight is going on, there was a possible third party on the horizon with Fort Fun, but they Cryo getting the ring console before maybe showing their face. But the back-to-back now over onto the other side as Chenji, coming fresh out of their flights, have lost out on Ziki, and Dexter being on that Seer is going to be able to slide through the window to try to get the follow-up.
Oh, Genji hailing from Shipyard Arcade. There's that reset from Alter we're talking about. A little close moment here.
No, not Genji, man. I'm just going to show up.
Oh, over by Arcade too, though. It's going to be huge to see which team comes out on top here.
Oh no, they're getting burned.
But it is up to Flat to take control, get the res, and get the reset. No third party in the vicinity over by Shipyard Arcade. So they are going to be able to get not only the full reset, but perhaps even being able to take that tower to be able to go into that next zone.
Quite unfortunate for Genji to be some of the last players to alive, freshly admitted this morning, like 3 hours ago. Step onto the stage, first team out of the lobby. Nice reset from Flat, though. They've got the caustic, you have your barrels down. It's really uncontested after that. We don't love third parties in moments like that, but that's okay. For now, we focus on getting information and getting into that next zone. Team Heretics, going to be one of the longer rotating teams alongside Dory and Unlimit, but this squad coming from the west side of things, making sure we level up the weapons, get
पैसे कितने पौने हैं starting च?
बस ठीक है 6000 सही है जितना हैगा आया हम
कितना आया ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਆਇਆ
5000 बैंक च है 1000 यार mouse and keyboard
But
and a couple of them are controllable.
When you have all the teams in
like
this
is the mouse and keyboard dominated in game
here as VP now having to scoot away as a solo while Falcons getting their information moving around the southeastern side of the zone to rotate into Humbert, more so on the back end, right?
Okay.
Pathless travel near their bikes, so the really only thing that they really have to worry about would probably be For Fun as well as VP now making that rotate as a solo, by the way, as well as DCG.
ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਆ ਦੇਖ ਰਿਹਾ ਜੀ ਨਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਤਰਨਾ ਫੇਕ ਹੋਰ ਦੂਜੇ ਟਾਈਮਰ ਆ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਲੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਇਆ ਹਜੇ ਪੀ ਸੋ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਚਿਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮੋੜਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਟਾਈਮ ਇਹ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਈਡ ਤੇ ਕੈਨ ਵੀ ਮੇਕ ਇਟ ਲਾਈਕ ਵੇ ਸਮਾਲਰ ਲਾਈਕ ਹਾਫ ਦ ਸਾਈਜ਼
the timer
ਉਹ ਅੱਜ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਾ ਰੀਸੈਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਣਾ I have to like you see that the graphics ਇਹਦੇ things today let me show you so basically like my just sharing is the EWC
even though you have a lot of these buildings
and then we have our scene as the EWC and everything
scary depending on where that zone ends up
and I feel like
might be on the outskirts of Old Town, you know, where Flat is actually trying to rotate through to clear their backs on the southern side. And Dory already getting that scan, already getting that information to see where a lot of these teams are maybe blocking their position into this rotation. They call up JD Gaming, they got the scan of the super beacon, and moving forward is going to be PXX. And there's two other teams in the
So basically I applied for a co-stream for EWC, which got approved. And so here we are.
Not only PXX, but Hal from the Falcons is also putting pressure towards that. So now that we kind of focus on the rotation, you mentioned Dory, but I'll talk about them later. They're playing with their coach as a sub-muscle, right? And Shopify Rebellion, I said make me eat my words. We don't need a game one like this.
Hold on, though. Remember the free reset here. Do you get the setup? I like this. Putting down the drone in advance actually is really smart. You may not have an EMP, but you get the recall off of having that Alter TP ready to go. Over onto the other side, though, Yanya does get knocked. TRN now on the prowl, and it's going to be two players up between Bulls. There's roll high, but now going to be able to get the reset is even more important, which allows them to now fully get up to a full 30. But then you have the
So you got these overlays from them? Yeah. Because now I have to put on these overlays when I'm co-streaming with them.
It's just a matter of time. Can they break down the drone? No, they cannot. The EMP actually sinks as Yuka, who's already...
So I have no idea what benefit I'm getting from it.
He doesn't like the situation that he's in, and he would rather get
we're gonna keep on doing it.
All right, we're gonna pull that drone back.
Just for fun.
Drops as well. We can't even get Mike up now. It is Satuki last alive for that roster, and you know what's happening? Trinity says we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna start pulling up our players and stack those numbers in our favor. The full from Yuka F comes through, and well, we'll have to wait and see the fate of Zeta after this.
Listen, I want to know how much these players are playing for the insurance policy of the Alter TP. Because
like my name does show up here.
Aggression when it comes to being able to get these free resets.
Hey, and that's exactly what happens, right? Immediately starts.
Let me refresh quickly.
Our way, but these guys are not afraid. We saw just how much action they had in the regular season split in APAC North. Sure, scrims may not have been the best for them, but that's okay because it's LAN, you're on the stage, and this is the time to show out.
And Flat has also at least been able to secure so many of this KP already early. While Trinity have been able to get these knocks, it's about the resets of this Alter TP now. And he's going to be able to now take some shots off of the longbow. Just 2 times is all he needs at the hands of Jelly. Also being able to have the information with Duke just kind of floating around with the skies looking congested with these crypto drones.
Like,
that's going to track, right? Especially when you've got 20 cryptos in a lobby at 100% pay grade. You're going to have some drones in the sky. Just keep your eyes on the fights ahead of you and hope that your crypto's doing the work here.
I hope बहुत ज़्यादा ना होवे.
Coming on down, and the replicators and such. So Roy over there, Deep Cross Gaming, mind you, they won their regional finals in APAC South with a back-to-back win for 3 total wins in that series. And they locked it in. And honestly, I was hearing about some work that they had when my friend Jumpa was creating content, right? He said their comms, when translated, are some of the funniest in ALGS because they'll just look at a fight and they'll be like, hey, you guys want to just go full send this? Do you know how dangerous that is as a player in a lobby when you've got people that are like, yeah, let's just full send the fight, bro, we're going.
Hey, those fights are going to be important when it comes to, you know, being able to handle match point finals, especially with the pressure. I mean, we saw that with now Sentinels and the way that they were able to handle champs under a different name here, but it's going to be Team Heretics with the pings up ahead. They see this next zone pull. They see that they're getting gate kept from the team that's up on the high ground here, and that's going to be Unlimit trying to block off their rotate. But even if Team Heretics ends up rotating on the northern side, that's where PXX is going to be.
I told you, these are the teams that were already late to rotate, right? And now they were running into resistance. Unlimited actually beats Team Heretics.
Like, people are going to try to like get as many points as they can from day one.
You go up north, you might meet some giants, you
and
might meet the
we
Falcons.
are rooting for Team Falcons right here.
I don't really want to take a fight to Wall.
I don't know if that's a giant or a Titan, man. I mean, it's a little different when you get a
Wolsey, Imperial Hall, and Guild.
I feel like he'd be like probably the Armor Titan. That's the vibes I get, honestly. And I mean, when you're dealing with that, and the rest of Team Falcons who are looking to rotate outside of Energy Bank, they don't like how congested it's looking coming up from this rotate. They do have the option in some time to take a roundabout rotate, go on from the bottom right side of Energy Bank, and maybe see if there's a third party, they can reset with an alter TP immediately afterwards, because it's going to be Team Heretics basically doing the same thing while PXX are holding a split hold over that choke.
Ooh, see, it's all about those decisions and getting as much information as possible. And honestly, playing for things like that ring console for late game and having the drone grabbing that info, and of course the ring console that is outside the north, it's really stuck between PXX and Dory, so they're going to have sights on that. It will be difficult to get if you do choose to rotate through that area. But for now, it's almost like as if you're not in zone deep in there, you're going to have a really difficult journey to get in there.
Bro,
and
holy fuck.
Falcons did this on purpose, because if you look at the composition, they're one of the
Look
few
at the drones
that
flying
I
in the
don't think
area,
are running the
man.
caustic, right? So they want to be able to play objective. They took a roundabout rotate instead on the outskirts of stadium, instead of immediately holding down that southern right side choke where For Fun are actually situated in. Depending on how they get to clear this north side, I do like this idea. Remember, it's just game number 1 while Falcons get to plan ahead. And of course, with Alter being in these compositions, imagine the little cheeky angles you could take through the walls to be able to get a different rotate too.
Yeah, I mean,
Very true, and I also kind of like
Takes
this moment
time,
right
man.
here where
Like,
they're
the
playing
struggle
slow.
will like that,
They're
like,
talking
keep
about
on.
which way they like to go in. Make sure that you grab some of those gold bins. You get
Caustic
those
isn't
power-ups.
easy,
We
bro.
talked about Deep Cross Gaming early on, and Roy is
Backy,
leaving the first
hopefully,
team
kal
down
nu
off. Remember, a
we're
rogue
gonna
nade
start our
from Dory.
RP.
These are the squads that are kind of consistently butting heads up on that northern side of the next.
We probably should be doing
Well, Dory
RP
trying
from
to
tomorrow.
at least look ahead here while DCG do get that res. It's going to be Zedai who are on the outskirts. Dory do manage to get the res themselves too, with the exhibit being right on top of their heads. But man, if you take a look at this mini-map, there's so many drones flying around. You would think that all these EMPs are going to be different forms of fireworks, while Falcons are rounding behind Dory. So that fight that we just saw currently as Dory are going to be able to heal up safely. They're going to be able to try to pull off getting those ultimates online too. With Falcons, they see that the fight's over. They don't want to try to overextend. They see that next zone pool are going to take that roundabout rotate, perhaps behind JD Gaming, or if the timing serves, behind Zedai and Dory to clear that northern side. But it's a lot of a riskier chance unless they go through JD Gaming.
Yeah, and with 18 seconds before everything starts to collapse and draw them in, you might get stuck having to carve through that choke point into the middle, straight towards where we saw Deep Cross Gaming fall. PXX has now entered the mix alongside Zeddy, and Dory has been there, right? So knowing that there's potential for that third party, I can imagine that Katsu King there is going to look for some early openings, but honestly, at this point, if you're Zeta across the way, taking another fight towards the western side, we saw what Yuka F could do. They hit the reset on the altar, and now the fire, the flames, the seer coming
Bro,
out,
that's
and
insane, man.
Yuka
Zeta.
pulls the Tuki to join Mike, the last stand, and he can't pull it off.
Oh man, there's literally fights happening on each angle while Unlimit 2 get involved in the crossfire. Flat looking ahead to try to capitalize because it's Team Heretics. But remember that pile up that we were talking about with Dory up on the north side? Guess what? Falcons took the jump tower, they landed right on top of them, and Zedai and Team Falcons are now facing up against each other, but it's only up to Guild to clutch out here as he's going to be able to get that.
This is bad time to start our episode with the GD6 coming.
Reset as well, finishing off some of these not
Nahi, bro. Like GD6 RP is gonna take like maybe like
Oh, Alter, my beloved.
a year and a year and a half, 2 years.
Plays like that and have that get out of jail free card. There goes the crypto EMP and
क्योंकि जिन्ना चेर PC से नहीं होंदी उन्ना चेर वो ना होना.
Situation, right? We've got a solid spot if we can hold this and clear out our backs for the long game, for maximizing a potential win out of it, but not if JD Gaming has anything to say about it. And they were one of our first teams that had teammates falling. Naughty was down and out, but they've made a full reset.
They did, and now Floating's going to be able to clean up on aisle 3 as a limit, by the way. Do get eliminated in your feeds. That's going to be at the hands of Team Heretics, who have now completely cleared the west side of the zone, but it's quite a big journey for them as we take a look at JDG. Now looking ahead with Naughty being back in the fray, as you mentioned, Tiff, is going to get the information off the crypto drone. They do see that one member of Wolf's Esports are going to be able to TP, and they want to prevent them from getting that reset. I mean, imagine how an EMP could go with the amount of caustics in this lobby, and then you have that lone Watson too from Gaming Gladiators.
I actually love that they lock in Watson early on and just kind of stick to what they know, stick to what they enjoy for E-District, because you'll be able to play that character longer. You don't have to switch off too much, but here are the Falcons yet again on the move from the outside looking in, which is such a great strategy for group stages, right? It's all about racking up as many points as humanly possible early on, but they only have 3 kills to kick things off, which I say only, but honestly, the most in the lobby is 4, and that's PXX and Flat.
Yeah, exactly, right? And Flat, if you look at their position, being on that southern side
But
of
first
the
one left in the zone, bro, it's just, bro, like, बहुत hectic होंगे, like, that's why Apex is the best, best and hardest battle royale there ever is.
Oh my goodness, off the longbow.
That was insane.
To come out on top, Falcons now hailing from above and being on top of the rooftop, putting in the pressure, forcing this team to play by the fence on a beautiful kidnap, by the way, that we were talking about earlier when it comes to the altar.
Yeah, that was a dirty replay right there, Vicky. I'm not gonna lie. Those are things that I will never get enough of. But the EMP comes in straight on Guild's head, and now a Skynade to hopefully put that resistance up. Trade's coming alongside, but it's Team Heretics, and just a nade chaos backfires as Team Falcons fall.
Playing on potato, catch one of these as Falcons find themselves in the spot room gates here. Back to the lobby they go, and this is the pileup that we were mentioning. Team Heretics maybe in some trouble here. Well, also it's going to be Havoc also right behind them with PXX, ZI Esports. It's a huge pileup here. And guess what team is uncontested in this next zone? Gaming Gladiators. I mean, crazy, as we were talking about them running that Watson earlier too.
Look, I'm telling you, I don't know what it
Bro,
is about Gaming
Something
happens when those boys step onto the stage, right? And hey, if we're gonna have some success this early on, that momentum will carry you through the week. Zainu, 5 HP, drop in the barrels, and hey, we're just gonna hide in here. No one look over. It's all good. It's all good.
Mind your business, Zainu says.
If you see me, no, you don't. Look away.
Lone little Cossack, it's like hiding behind that one little tree, a slim tree, hoping nobody sees you. But you know what? You're keeping the dream alive here for our teams left in this lobby. That next zone is going to be a bloodbath for the teams that have yet to pile up inside of those 3 individual buildings. That's right directly in the middle when you go over to the east side of Humbert Labs. Taking a look
no.
at the teams that are just trying to
it might be a different event,
specifically.
but EWC for COD has a gaon. Yo, flame my bad brother. Badhiya badhiya pratha skill nahi. How you doing, man?
But it's totally fine. We got AG Global, Yanya, Jaguares, Niazul here on the screen, and an L-Star in hands. Looking pretty good. Now, we do have a solidified spot in circle, but they are not alone. This is the
But Team Falcons still alive.
The majority of the 5 squads still outside the circle. You're getting that information from the high ground from Team Heretics to be able to see.
मैं बड़ा कुछ करता पिया सी मैसेज में हुणे देखया.
They've always been from the
I was sending an email.
The fact that Heretics just reset too, by the way, and they jumped
Trinity
down
died.
from the high ground and avoided getting kidnapped.
And they do. They immediately.
That's one of the good says it is, bro. I just love Apex, man.
Havoc now with 3 kills towards their name.
And watching EWC is सोने जैसा अकेली वाली गल हो जाती है, bro. Like it's insane. I think so. Yanya wins this, boys.
How are you going to contend? Because AG Global, they want to get involved too.
They do, and they after being able to
There's a reset. There's a reset.
Coming out of
Bro, 6 teams still alive.
When in Pro League they were in 20, they're staying alive. They've controlled
किसने शुरू करा कुछ?
building the neighboring teams now with 6 squads.
अमेरिका काफी जल्दी चलता है. What do you mean?
That we had mentioned earlier, and some of the teams that are not within the vicinity of these 3 buildings.
So देखो तो 10 टीमें दा बैठी हैं ना. 10 दूसरे पासे आ. So we have Wolves, TIE, AG.
Understanding and having the awareness. They do have the TP, but with this final zone closing in the next 30 seconds, it's going to be nearly impossible.
Yeah, with 6 teams left, I love that you've outlined all the stakes, especially JD Gaming. And here's why. Their job is to make sure that wherever we are going, we are keeping tabs on the north with Gaming Gladiators, PXX, making sure that those 2 fight each other and they don't get full sent.
Oh,
and
GG
on the
बैठा
other
है
side,
Gen
right,
Z.
the south, Wolves, AG Global, and TIE, they want those fights to happen
PXS
there
is
so
a
that
new
JD
one, then
Gaming can just shoot
JDG.
from afar and clean that up, netting themselves a win.
The JD Gaming.
That's why they've been holding this position for a really long time, right?
Yeah.
And we saw them that they were able to pepper in a lot of the teams from afar without trying to directly involve themselves. But if you're looking at PXX and what they've done in this
like
first
good
game,
overlays,
that's how you set
man.
momentum. 7 KP going in their pocket while JD Gaming been farming damage.
GG.
now move up to already initiate this fight versus
Gladiator Gaming, not Gen Z,
They
fuck.
immediately start getting closer, but look who's there.
Shubi.
Trying to make a play, falls at the hands of
And
Muska. That is going to actually make so much difficulty there for JD Gaming, who do have the altar, who are going to look for a reset. So Gaming Gladiators must keep applying the pressure.
There we go. They
and
push.
Here they go.
No.
But they went bamboozled
Oh, they came back. Naughty.
Floating, making the last stand. I mean, the way that we're seeing these players just go back and forth between the portal, EMP for days, all the information with the skies, congested.
Oh no. No, GG's dead.
Floating is farming. He gets called out though.
Oh, GG's dead.
JD Gaming get eliminated. Our last
JD's dead, so we have AG.
Wolves and PXX, who are
Oh, I think AG is dead too.
KP into that first place spot.
Sometimes you've just got to
Wolves might take it, man. Wolves has good position and everything. Alright, Wolves might take it, and Wolves take it.
And they take game 1 of groups A and B. Wolves with the pop off, the crowd giving them their energy. I mean, what was that, like 10 KP by the end of it all? They were able to play very safely, have the high ground advantage before watching the teams below their feet collapse.
But that was insane game, man.
That dub.
You look, if you lock in Humbert Labs as your POI and that circle immediately starts outlining that area, this is where you can show what you've got. You have that. And not only that, but usually if teams are already in a zone that's pulling towards them, they don't get a lot of kills, right? But you said it, Vicky. They did this win with double
What about celebration?
kills to kick things off. So a 22
Bro,
game 1.
I mean, ये दूजे ने ना सारे parle.
Land over by Humber, that's your designated POI.
Asian ना बंदे.
You were able to get some of the resets that we saw.
वो बेचारा तो लगता है ना जब पंजाबी हुंदा.
When you're forcing some of these fights, little Bob Off comes in here. They're letting everybody know what their name is.
Look, I just learned the sign for wolves, Vicky. As he was
ਉੱਪਰੋਂ ਭਰਾਵਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਇਹ ਨਾ usually EWC ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਸਾਊਦੀ ਅਰੇਬੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ. But ਹੁਣ war ਕਰਕੇ so they went to Paris now. नहीं तो मेरा बहुत मन थी कि I was like having like double doubts कि मैं I wanna go watch it
And
live.
it's one of my favorites, right? It is obviously one of the newer in the map pool as we kind of cruise through some of these
Like
highlights
पूरे
here,
week ਦੀ
starting
package
out
ਮਿਲ
with
ਜਾਂਦਾ
all
ਆ
that high ground.
ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ 5 ਦਿਨ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਵੇਂ.
These are doing the brunt force of the work. You see how
So
many
it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, so day yeah, I think Sunday ਨੂੰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਖਤਮ ਹੋਊਗਾ. Sunday's the finals. Bro, Apex has the best final making decision. Next year then probably, bro. Let's hope so.
Oh, floating was in the Matrix too. Like he could not move. Like I mean, you're getting double sear scanned. Like
and we're dodging. We are literally floating.
ENCG चल जाए वो.
Floating back to the lobby. No, that's it. Because honestly, that's
no, EWC, yeah, bro.
On the other side of that sear attack, it's like
this is EWC.
Slow-mo for you, but the fact that floating was still able to
ऐड की रियाज नहीं हो रहा.
Those Devo pickoffs here with the hipfire shots is also nice, but it's even better when Wolves gets to come in from the high ground at the top.
At Paris हो रहा है.
Apex Predator table here and just being able to dive down and feast.
Wait, am I dumb?
Looks fantastic on how they're able to start off this first game.
I know, and I'm like, for all the teams that just had like a really powerful performance, PXX there grabbing second place, right? They had 8 kills. I believe it was like 17 total points. That's a squad that actually didn't have one of the.
अच्छा national cup हो रहा. Okay.
Or even the South, right? They were over in Blossom, so they had Havoc, Shopify Rebellion, Zeta, some of the powerhouses over there on that western side of things. So when you think about the initial rotates and how.
Oh, yeah, I remember this. ये तो अपना दूसरा है ना World Cup हो जाता countries दा. Oh, ठीक है. Yo, this is gonna be fun to watch too. Oh.
It's tough too, and it's even more impressive to see how No Name was able to put down 6 KP just by himself on the altar. It comes in clutch when you are able to take your own TP back, get your teammates back up to full health. We saw it time and time again already starting off our first game, and mind you, it's not even gonna be altar that gets banned. It's the 100% pick rate on Crypto.
Yeah, we might as well, man.
Because then you have the double sear on top of like the stuns that you also have the slowdown.
Maybe not win to अपने India player भी जाना के. Yeah, India तो होंगे bro. Yeah, India we have not win. The soul godlike. Orangutan, Revenant X-Pac, chest base.
One of the teams to take this building very early, considering that this is their POI. So they had that advantage with No Name cleaning up even more heads. We just talked about the fact that he was able to take not only match number 1 with the whole team with 10 total KP.
This might work honestly, man. Heavy November ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ.
Efficiently too. 2,000 damage. Well, 2,078 if you want to get crazy, but minimal damage taken. Only took about 700.
Apex
even crazy
हो रहा है
100 damage total taken throughout the duration, and you're starting at Humbert, and everyone's coming to you, and you only had 100 damage shot at you. We're efficient.
Okay, Apex हो रहा है, last week हो रहा है Apex. देखते हैं मुंडे. WWE, bro, holy fuck, man. Yeah.
Going right through that rotating wall on the outskirts.
I think Apex ने ये भी चीज़ें count कर दिए पईयां ने. The EWC count होगी.
Which is important when we take a look at the different POI draft, right? Tiff, we highlighted some of the common zones.
एक बाद फिर आप Pro League पे
I said Northwest. You were like, yeah.
क्योंकि हम playoff हो रहा है. I think Pro League qualifiers जानेंगे.
Sure, Vicky. What else do you know?
अच्छा ENC तो चलते पए ने.
I've talked a little bit to the scriptwriters in the back. We always have to
कर दोगे 10 play कर दोगे bro.
Even if Nicewig is back at home, we always have Nicewig's energy out here too, contributing to being a scriptwriter himself.
I hope he's healing up.
Boy, at least wanna play scrims, man. जे आप like चाहे qualify ना करिए, but at least I wanna play एक बारी खेलना चाहना यार.
Starting off our first game too, Tiff, and already with Wolves taking control of not only their designated POI. But now we get to see
and who will be the coach, bro? I don't care about Soul, man.
Influence being closer into those pools, specifically.
Yeah, honestly, I
take a roundabout rotation. You mentioned
I don't care about Soul India. The ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ bro.
Humbert Labs too.
I was impressed.
Oh, you don't give a fuck
really
about
was,
them.
Right? We talked about floating in particular, kind of coming in through the open, making a name for himself there, finding himself on a really nice roster alongside Shubi and Naughty, and what this initial land was going to look like for them as a team. Because you think of their split one performance, yeah, they had their ups and downs, they had their powerhouse moments, but when we got to interview them on the broadcast, how like mentally clear did Naughty sound at that point? It's almost like it was really refreshing, and I was like, this is a
पहला कर रहा है ना, so there's a timer,
a ton of our players do, but it was just like a very new like
यार अरे न पैके होती
schedule one
like what is the different results
टूर्नामेंट वैसे करके करवा रहे यार
talented players on my team. What can I utilize taking my knowledge, my experience in the scene, and what can I bring here to elevate these crazy fraggers? I mean, we see kind of an iteration of this
नवंबर चो हो रहा है
right, Tiff? I mean, one that comes to mind, at least in my mind, you know, not in this group, but Alliance, kind of being
I might go
like leading the team when it comes to sending out your units, right? And that's kind of what we've been seeing with Naughty, as we also have to highlight
क्रिकेट करता जो ना नसीब है फिर जाए
yeah, I mean, not gonna miss you. All the crypto EMPs, all the drones in the sky for the information. We're not gonna have that. Alter, however, was 17 picks in game.
You click on the green.
Things kind of go in that same route.
या आपका प्राइस था बहुत साले पैंदे चोरी करने के की करना है
that crypto's out of the table, right? And we're seeing
साले तो चोरी खोल दे पे बैंक दिया थी.
I don't think we did actually see, what was it, like a beacon over by
Stadium. So
to take a roundabout position towards energy by the choke.
ऐसा खोज apply कर दो ते गाल please. I mean, how to calculate it?
We saw that crazy pile up of a lot of teams coming
Dory, PX,
Yo, Flame also
obviously they
ਅਸੀਂ ਆਦਾ RP server ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ, so let me know if you want to join, bro.
Having Guild on Seer, look, it's pretty nice to see Guild on Seer, and he's just out there. I'm just gonna attack you. I'm gonna
परसों तक सही पूरा फल फल तैयार हो जाऊगा. साडे डेवलपर साहब जोरां शोरां ते लगे हुए ने.
Right, we're prioritizing fighting on edge, racking up our kill points, and then saying, sure, if we get a win out of this, great. That's 12 points right there. But as long as we're getting, you know, top 5 consistently with kills, that is a great way to get through the group stages.
Until they had to be met with that hot potato nade right at their feet.
Yeah, that would hurt. That's one of those things where you start seeing the nade indicators and you're like,
yeah, excellent.
I'm done.
Or
I'm
sometimes
sorry.
you don't actually. Sometimes you don't. It's
you're like, how did that happen?
Oh man, and then you get yeeted out into the zone or even fall off from the high ground, which is a really scary situation to be in. But yeah, I definitely agree when it comes to trying to play incredibly aggressive. But then there's also, I mean, even teams like what we saw from JD Gaming, we keep highlighting, holding and choking out those teams that are forced to come from that southern east side of the zone of Humber and then trying to actually contest a lot of these teams. Whereas even teams like AGG playing a lot more patiently, playing into those compositions when it comes to playing safe, but kind of being forced to look through the windows, getting these resets with the altar portal into allowing themselves to get a little aggressive, but maybe not as aggressive as some of these other teams. And it did work out for Wolves, honestly, at the very end, right? They saw them clean up the KP that they needed by the very end without giving away their building for free.
Yeah, and that's where I get really excited. I'm always curious, what's that going to look like for Wolves in particular? We talked about it earlier, No Name, right? Just coming in with a large majority of those kills, but it is that moment where you have your team working as a unit. If you have to look and say, yeah, I've got the most kills, that's probably because someone else threw down a brunt force of damage, and you're just saying, hey, I'm just picking it off. So can we do that again? I hope so, because if you drop, 2 20-point games, you're pretty looking good in this series. You're going to be at the top, and that is how you avoid that screen. Hang on a second. Let's focus in on that. Who we got there? We got fans is what we've got. I was like,
very saturated. I tried.
I tried really hard. It's like, guess that player.
I'm like the worst person when it comes to that too. I cannot even see like my hands in front of me. So when it comes to
I choose not to wear my glasses and contacts, so I can't see past 6 feet.
Okay. There's a reason why I'm a little psychotic when it comes to standing up and playing and standing up and getting hyped here, guys, for game number 2. As we are ready to go, we saw Wolves double-digit KP take game number 1 within our first look of groups A and B. And now we move right back over onto E District. We talked about the POIs earlier, Tiff. Now we get to see where this zone is going to be pulling this time around. Will it be a little bit more so towards the western side of the zone? Maybe a different look around, because we've been seeing City Hall throughout Pro League. We see the 100 zone this time around and changing things up as we get started. We first take a look at Wolves and what legend is going to be banned next year as they roll out with the Alter, Walton, as well as the Mad Maggie.
Ooh, okay. Wolves here. You can already see the changes coming through, but
so we got a crypto ban.
They're going to run at some things. Where the initial circle goes for them, Wolves landing at Humbert Labs. Will we pull towards the south, because it shows them?
So they ਆ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨਾਲ ਵਧੀਆ ਕਰਤੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲਾਈਕ ਖੇਡੋਗੇ ਕੈਰੈਕਟਰ ਕੋਈ ਲਾਈਕ ਉਨਾ ਹੀ ਉਹ ਕੈਰੈਕਟਰ ਬੈਨ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਗੇ ਇਹ
South again. Times are changing, Vicky. And Genji Esports, you may have been first out of the lobby in map number 1, but this is your time to shine.
Hey, they had a survey beacon, but it's not like that would provide maybe the information that they want, considering that a lot of these teams are now just starting to rotate too. So I see a draft point zone, and I know
Falcons can rotate easily, man. They're gonna go Humbert Labs.
Experience of playing with Graceful myself, but it's great too when it comes to having information, right? When it comes to having that survey beacon, I'm wondering here, just looking at a lot of these teams.
Alter getting banned, I think so.
Yes, that's what I was looking for. The ring console and survey are going to be there, so you could expect some teams to prevent other squads who are rotating a little late to get information, while the other teams that have to go in from later POIs, further POIs rather, will be able to side quest to get that information themselves.
Yeah, you've got Dory all the way up at Lotus, right? And they're a squad that doesn't have Watson. They're still electing to run Seer, which has an 18 pick in the lobby. So that will likely be your next ban here. We're going to get him out early before we move on to Stormpoint later on. But for TIE, bringing out the Wraith. Dare I say, F-Chan, you are my favorite player right now.
Feeling a little risky, aren't we? No, but I do like this, though, when it comes to trying to go in for these different rotates, but then you won't have the same type of that we saw in game number 1 with the amount of ultras that we had, which is important, right? You mentioned the Seer, that's going to be our next legend band. Won't be able to see the double tax coming out here, and maybe even more when it comes to a lot of these teams coexisting in these buildings. But it's about getting the information, looking at our fans in the audience, live from Paris, everybody. Game number 2, as you call in the evac already to make your next move, because Tiff, a lot of teams have already found themselves over on this draft point side. But I mean, it's great to be a Gen G fan, especially after a lackluster game number 1, because you know, as you already mentioned, being the first team out, but being able to come out with the survey beacon and ring console from Shipyard Arcade will allow them to sit pretty on the southern side of zone where no other teams will be able to get that set of information and traverse through the bridge where they can clear their backs.
Yeah, exactly. And as we look at Flat and where they've set up, you have to think about Qzier there, like on Seer, right? We have to grab the survey beacon. They hail from Viaduct. They only have the survey beacon, and you're going to see a ton of people moving into that vicinity, just kind of around draft point and a little bit south. So you're saying that's where we need to play from. We make that call. We say this is exactly our play style. We have the Watson. We can fence this area up. JD Gaming also choosing to play around this vicinity. And you just have to realize, as you set up, that you have to be able to hold it. But for AG Global on that eastern side of things, making their push in, Yanya himself on the altar is 2 knocks away from 1,000 knocks. Okay, like that's insane.
Ooh, hold on.
We need it here in this game, right?
Write down the stats. Tiff has spoken, especially when it comes to tracking some of these players. that have been reoccurrent in our lands. AGG now moving outside of Humbert. Falcons are prowling right behind them, by the way, who want to Pariah getting the Evo Harvester on the northeastern side of Humber, very similar to where that last zone pool was, before they make their rotate, perhaps through the choke of Shipyard Arcade, because again, it's that big set of information that Gen G already prioed very early on with the ring console and survey beacon. But Gen G did give up that space for right now. As you can see them right now, they're going to be able to try to look over by Viaduct, but guess who was there by the survey already? It was PXX. They don't want to try to contest for playing on the edge of zone in that direction that leads into draft point, so they actually get right back over to Shipyard Arcade before AGG or even Falcons may want to try to prio get that info, which is why we're seeing Falcons now take to the skies, but do they have the information that Gen G is waiting for them at Shipyard?
Yeah, it was a really interesting game one for Falcons, right? Because how often did we find them so far outside of zone in the north, right? So knowing that they start from stadium, that was a journey for them. That was full of resets.
Oh, Gen G jumped, bro. As soon as you saw that,
what do we do this time?
They jumped.
We actually go south. We comb together a couple of evacs. We take to the sky, and now Guild switches off Seer. Waltzy's on Seer. Guild's on Watson, and we're saying, where do we want to set up? Well, you set up by the ring console. You play for information.
Ooh, and they were able to get there for free. All right, we take that. Let me tell you, especially when Gen G's like looking above them, seeing Falcons fly from above. He heard the evac tower and does end up crashing down before they end up rotating probably through Old Town, taking their time while AGG.
Bro, do you see his hand placement?
Falcons, they're not going to try to prio and contest Falcons there by Shipyard Arcade, because with a lot of these teams being able to have the reset of the alter TPs in general, there could be a lot of griefing that could be done, especially with the influence of Axel that we were seeing in this lobby.
It's so interesting looking at Gen G, you know, the 8th seed coming in from APAC South. This is one of those squads that didn't have the best scrim
That's
average
insane,
when it comes down to it. Sure, 33rd average, but you said, Vicky, we take it with a grain of salt. We just compile on that performance.
I think
that
king,
like, land, you kind of lock in.
थोड़ा easy हो जाता है यार.
We're just happy to have you here for day one. We just want to see, get you kind of those initial flows moving. What's the pace of the lobby look like, and really kind of step up for the later matches.
And honestly, all props to them.
Yeah, like I'm saying,
zombie, bro.
nothing but nice.
A shell of my former existence, but that's why they're here, locked and loaded. Already getting that adrenaline and going here with a lot of our teams already making their way. VP being one of them, by the way, where they were able to send out that alter player to
हाजा तो मैप चेंज होने के ना उਦੋਂ ਹੋਰ ਮਜ਼ਾ ਹਾजा ਜਦ ਮੈਪ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਬਾਕੀ ਤੋਂ ਐਂਡ ਤੋਂ ਨਾ ਵੇਖਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੀਅਰ ਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹਾਂ Seer's gonna be OP, man. Like,
are keeping their eye on VP.
ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਕੋਲੇ ult ਹੋਣੀਆਂ ਨੇ
You're looking at heretics.
ਭੈਣ ਜੋ 10 ults
to come from a very far POI over to the north side. We'll be
and it stuns you.
Getting that survey beacon. And then on the opposite end, Tiff, same thing could be said about Falcons with the way that they want to take a roundabout position, but Gen G do find themselves in a fight.
The trade, and Yanya is one that goes down first for AG Global, and sure, you turn it around at the hands of Aguirres, but Yanya does not get the knocks that he needs to exceed 1,000. You know, it's going to be a little bane of your existence to breach that 1,000, but the moment you do, then you're going to find all the knocks. But that's a nice way to make sure that we clear out our backs in the south, down here near Old Town. Sure, we're fighting, we're going to rotate back in. You're going to look at, you're right, Deep Cross Gaming and Trinity that are likely going to be real pain points in that portion, but for Falcons,
they're trying so fucking.
Right? They took the path up through the south, and they just.
I feel like they should push, man.
In the middle of everyone.
And they TP'd out.
They found themselves in the middle of a lot of these teams and waiting to see where the zone is going to pull. But I really do like the aggression that we saw from AGG, who were holding out on the outskirts of Humbert before they went outside the zone to where there is over at Old Town a survey beacon to see where everybody is situated in. While DCG are ahead of them, while AGG are now resetting fully. We talked about Falcons before, and they're playing to their strengths when it comes to these current compositions that they're rocking on, right? You have still have the Alter, you have the Seer getting the info, as well as the Watson, just to sit down pretty. But with all their teams now...
Hi, bro, Soul the match रात ਨੂੰ हाँ जी bro. Soul's I think playing at 7:30.
My eyes on flat up there in the bus, locked down thanks to the
ਪੰਜ ਮੈਚ ਆ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ
down as well. But as our free cam keeps navigating through, Virtus Pro on the horizon. This is a squad that went out 19.
So 4 match ਆ yeah, Soul's playing at 8:30.
Trying to bounce back from that performance here. It's a great way to make it happen. You throw a hemlock in, you kind of keep that pressure from a distance. You're behind your fences.
That should be at 30.
And you're inside that next circle for this one and the next one. So we're feeling safe. And we're out of the cluster of teams out towards your west.
Yeah, हाँ 8:30 होए 8:30.
It's going to be scary. Yeah, because especially
Yeah,
when, like, if you
8:30
don't have control over some of these bridges where you have a lot of these
Souls
open
playing.
angles, you're going to see teams like Dory saying, "Hasta la vista, we're taking
Hello,
a
Snappy.
different rotate through the vent side."
Hello.
On the south side of the energy,
Hello.
leading into draft point through that tunnel. That's incredibly risky, right? Because you still have Shopify holding that north side of draft point, a limit, who will be able to look at the opposition from the other bridge side when it comes to getting out of the western side of the zone where Team Heretics are making their rotate, and Falcons are looking to gatekeep PXX as they also come in to get to where that next zone pull is.
Yeah, you mentioned Heretics, and as we kind of looked at them
हाई
on
तक
this
क्रिपर
path,
प्लेस
they
नहीं
rotated
आई
into the
हैं
western side of things, and they try to find some coverage and immediately get sought out by Unlimit Coast, Alonzi and Jans here. What are we going to do to make this happen? You've got information, you do have the exhibit in your back pocket, but you don't quite want to burn this. You will if you have to. You do have the 2 ult excels in the inventory. This is going to force you to go this way. You're going to have to commit. You got Falcons straight ahead, Unlimit out to the left, Dory still looking for a home, and you know that they are ready to fight for it with that altar, with the Mad Maggie at their hands.
Gonna pull up there too. Oh, we get to see Jet's parents from afar. I love how we get to see their beautiful faces out in the crowd. Great energy.
Is that a BB? Yeah, that was.
Here.
It's not a LAN if we don't get to see Papa Jen. And of course, Jen's not going to be competing here today. He did actually, you know, was going to sub in for Gen G, but those boys, they got
I think that's the best thing,
approved.
right?
They're on
You
a stage here
like,
now, but it's still really nice
I mean,
to see
sports
them
share
here
ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ,
supporting
right?
as we
ਹਨਾ
look
ਵੀ
at those
ਤੁਸੀਂ
next circles and
ਫੁੱਟਬਾਲ
where
ਖੇਡਦੇ
things
ਪਏ
are
ਹੋ
moving.
ਖੇਡਦੇ ਪਏ
AG
ਹੋ
Global, who were last
like
down
your
by Old
parents
Town,
show
have
up,
carved their
right?
way
At
all
least
the
they
way
know
up
ਤੂੰ ਕਰਦਾ
towards
ਕੀ
the
ਪਿਆ
north. You can see they're still looking for
but
things
ਜੇ
like
ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ
resources,
esports
serving,
ਖੇਡਦੇ
things
ਪਏ ਹੋ
like
ਹਨਾ
all of that, but as that circle pops to
imagine
the
if
eastern
me
side of
I'm
things,
playing at tournament
this is
like
so
my
good for
mom
their
dad
ending.
have no idea what I'm doing,
It's really
right?
true. That's why you're seeing them take the evac because you
And
know
they're
while
sitting
they
in
were
the
able to take
stands.
their time, you see the light arsenal that was right to their south. Yep. For trying to get info on where a lot of these other teams are. You know, that ain't a Valkyrie, but it's about just finding out what the rest of the lobby is looking like from afar, because they have the TP set up in case they need to kind of go back towards the outskirts of Humber, but growing together as a unit, flying over the heads of VP. Can they find the safety of some of these buildings over by draft point? Which, by the way, this building is free.
They finally found a
actually
building
get there in front of VP, and because they had the ring information, they're able to get here very late into the zone, which is why they were able to scan the survey beacon on the outskirts of a light arsenal, see that this was free, and get here without even needing that info.
The best part about all of this is because this building is
Yo,
free,
Jenny.
so many teams had placed their bets on the west side. They're going to have to make a mass exodus, and you have to, if you are on this side, and own it. Virtus Pro, Taskmaster fully eliminated, Osis down, and Trinity finishes it out. A team that was already in that next circle has now been evicted, and Trinity claims their spot.
Igarashi said, open up like the Kool-Aid man. He completely cleared the building versus VP.
Like inspiration chal raha hai. It's all good, man. It's all good. Just have some fun. Watch this game today, man.
This second game around.
I missed that Gen G.
It was on the other side here, and then VP meet them back in the lobby, being the second team to fall. It's just a fact.
That's okay.
I mean, it's round 3, and you still have all these teams stiff.
You give those boys some 5 hours of sleep, they're going to be playing completely different. They're going to feel just like themselves. With the Falcons, though, yeah, we're testing fate with some more nades. They were a little bit, they fell victim to nades in map number 1, and we're looking to throw some more.
Hey, you know what happens when you're at the circus juggling through these nades yourself?
Bro, RP we fixing today. So
also go active.
Oh boy, Zeta Division on the other
developers
side.
सब लगे हुए ने.
When you think of Falcons rotating in from the west side, you're like, why are the Falcons so far over here, right? Don't they land in Stadium? You saw that southern rotation. You saw them grabbing that information, and they chose this side of things.
You know, Falcons are sitting here just trying to make their next move. Let's jump into a listening with Falcons to see how they plan this next rotate.
Mid guy got it restart हुआ तो मार लेंगे. One more doesn't make.
सिर्फ 2 टीमां सिर्फ ये 2 टीमां खत्म हुईਆਂ ਹੁਣ तक सिर्फ 2 टीमां 18 टीमां ਪਈਆਂ ਨੇ.
ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਵੈਸੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸਰਵਰ ਕਾਫੀ ਆ ਗਏ ਹਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦੋ ਤਿੰਨ ਦੂਜਾ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਦੂਜਾ ਆਲ ਖੇਲਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਪਲਾਨ ਹੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਸੀ ਵਿਚਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਕਦੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਕਦੇ ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ
Yeah, this is gonna be insane, man. Panjo.
ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਆ ਉਹ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਹੌਬੀ
Almost, man, almost.
All right, well, we get to
Let's
see
go,
how Space,
Falcons.
moving around and letting the rest of the boys know where to go
Can
next.
you
We get to see where that zone pool
mesh
is looking like
the
too.
door? What the
round
fuck,
of
bro?
order is closing right behind their backs, and by the way, we still have 18 squads still left in this game, but it's about to be a bloodbath of Falcons. Take to the sky.
Bro, जितने भी land होए ना ये, bro, जितने भी ये land करके, they wanna die, man. Like.
The Venn diagram of Seer exhibits, they say, you know what, we're playing the long game, we're going deeper into it, we're chowing and landing nearby Dory and Trinity. Dory on the low side.
Oh, no, they,
under fire. But Dory, that starts to deal the brunt of it. Muscle, their coach, stepping in for show, is one of the ones to fall, and Dory are out. Can you hold now against
No, they're getting
portal down to the low ground.
Not today, though. Nice pressure as How's looking to reset. They take one out, and now they're looking at Trinity, who wanted to try to contest, and they had the information from the Seer scan originally, but with the zone closing in,
bro, what the fuck?
with a sliver into that next zone, and that's what happens, as it's really only an isolated 2-1v1 fight between Trinity and Falcons.
They didn't have anyone fall too much damage there. They reset nicely. They get the gen down, but the chaos is still going. Floating makes an appearance, and immediately lets the R9 shred to the pieces.
Bro, कुछ नहीं पता लग रहा है पैंच कितना बह रही है.
So you immediately start playing the
ऐसे तो दौड़ गए हैं ना
वर्ल्ड मैच है मतलब टूर्नामेंट चल रहा है शुरू होया टूर्नामेंट एपेक्स का आज पहला दिन है दूसरा मैच है
सही है ना इंडिया का लोडिंग से
that was insane man
pixelated है वैसे फोटो तो आप चेंज कर सकते हैं
bro anyone else with apart from Imperial would have died there man
I have no problem पहले तो बड़ा क्लटर जैसा
all over the world
who are currently on the bridge.
And I love that they have floating on that movement axle, one of 3 in our lobby. It really frees them open to make some of these players. You nitro gate across, and you just keep that pressure on. For Falcons, things are looking a little different than when we left them.
Someone died.
Shut down that push from Trinity.
Waltz is down.
Hey, we'll go back up to high ground. We'll try to challenge it yet again.
Oh.
Yeah, they definitely found Dory in that too. The fact that they were able to get away with that is insane. Literally, like, and they were able to still hold down while AGG
okay, so Jobs का stream पे भी test करना.
Are Falcons still alive? Somehow.
I do not want any business of this action while AGG.
Wait. Yania.
Falcons holding a better position as Falcons are cleaning up heads for this game number 2.
Falcons are
Bro, how the fuck are they surviving, man?
Their rotations.
They didn't die, bro.
They're shutting it down. JD Gaming for fun also going to fall on the western side of things. And now as teams really set their sights on to land into this hectic endgame, where do you play from? We saw Flat who had the bridge. They called it, right?
Bro, they need to kill that team, man. The Wolf team.
Your map 1 winners are finding themselves in a precarious situation.
I mean, the fact that Flat is just looking down on everybody.
Mar hit कर गया, bro. Bro, he's still killing. Shopify rebelling the Jackie. Okay, Wolf useful solved.
Wolves, by the way, do get eliminated. Your game 1 winners out of this lobby in fifth.
Oh, okay, flat ऊपर Shopify Rebellion.
Perhaps get a reset. As they did lose out on their ultra.
They were about to get a reset.
I don't think we were able to pick up Koiful just yet. It's the
Falcon.
Fire preventing the
oh, bro, that's insane, man.
Before Shopify does fall, because also Flat is looking at them too.
Look at Falcons. Look at their
उधरों पै रही हैं ना उधरों वो मारते पए ने.
In this second game alone has Walt.
किलोमीटर चेक करिए कि नवे पाए और वेच.
For a little bit of revenge. Peppering some damage onto them, but this entire
oh, there's a nade coming. Hold on.
Rebellion were able to stave off that push, right? You can see
throw GG. Wait, GG might be pushing.
They're out of sight from Flash, they're out of sight from Falcons, and Game and Gladiators who have roamed in from the southeastern side have
zone closing. इस time सिर्फ जितना कि मेरे दिमाग चल रहा है वो सिर्फ Falcon एक रहेगी ये team.
Is preoccupied with Flat and the remnants of Shopify. Gaming can take a smart fight.
Oh, थे लड़ी ऐसे ने. Okay, Falcon down.
So PD versus A, this is working fine.
Bro, I think they bro, Pancho, bro, I think जिंदा नहीं. Bro, how the fuck are they still alive?
कौन चला के देगा?
Okay, Shopify is finally down.
Some help from Zane, some extra KP for Gaming Gladiators, and now we have our last three squads.
Oh, last two squads, boys.
Starting in Viaduct here towards the end. Gaming Gladiators who decided, hey, we're going for
Okay, so Gaming Gladiators तो पूरा पैच हो गया था. और flat eliminated. It's 3v3.
Reeling back, setting up some of their own fences.
Oh, James said, oh. Alright, last guy.
And Guild and Hal stand firm. They
No.
are your winners. Opening the door real quick and waiting to put down the exhibit.
Ben, जो 1v1 हो गए थे खीरते bro.
That they were able to take for game number 2.
What
यार कन्निया.
for the Falcons who, despite having
Bro,
a
like,
strong start in
what a
map
fucking
number
end zone was that, bro?
13th place in 4 kills, but then say, you
Yeah,
know
I'm
what,
still
we've
Jana
got
Banana.
this. We were your scrim
Bro,
leaders.
चढ़ना ही है bro, like
Set
दिमाग
the
बहुत जोर लगता है.
We've hoisted trophies. We know how to do it.
Yeah.
We just have to lock it in and to drop
Bro, Shopify Rebellion था bro. जिंदा रहे या फिर भी चल. Like they still survived. मरने तो सीगा उन्होंने.
goes to show you that it didn't matter where they started. They traversed the entirety of the south side of E District.
Saudi there.
The craziest rotation in from the west.
I'm like facepalm. Like the fact that they were able to get into that zone, destroy Dory. Like no one's gonna be finding Dory, at least for that game number 2. But the fact that they stayed alive, Trinity couldn't break them because they tried to show face.
That was insane, man.
Them out, get a little bit of revenge.
What a fucking game, bro.
They were able to actually come out on top on that rotate.
Yeah, to be fair, I think Vicky, that is the defining moment of match number 2.
लगता
Was
लगता.
that evac as we kind of go
नहीं,
through.
ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਵੇਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ bro. ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਆਪਣੇ like FIFA ਦੇ clubs ਨੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ country ਤੋਂ randomly ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਉਹ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਹੀਂਗਾ. Bro, what a match, bro.
But just look at how they stick together. Put the finishing touches as they swarm in. However, I will say for Gaming Gladiators, getting a second place in match number 2 is great. They were top 5 in map number 1. And what do we ask
Bro, ਜਿਹੜੀ team ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ Falcons ਉਹ team like Saudi ਦੀ team ਆ.
And it's really hard too when it comes to dealing with this international talent when you bring everybody on the
Unfucking-believable. It is, man.
The crowd going wild here when it comes to Gaming Gladiators as well. I know family members have flown out from all
we got Blast Sister right there. Hi, girl.
I love it. Charlie, I love the way that they are always coming through to support the family of Gaming Gladiators, but giving them that energy tip. You talk about consistency.
November ਚ ਹੋਣੇ ਹਰਮਨ ਰਿਆਦ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ.
Goes the distance in our 6 series when it comes to
national championship.
And they were one of the teams right in match number 1 that had decided we're gonna play Watson, right? We're gonna play something a little different. And you kind of just keep going through the lobby in that regard.
Insane,
you just
man.
make groups. It's times to learn almost. This is the moment in which you are setting yourselves up for deeper into the week where a lot of those games convert. There's $600,000 for first
The number of
place
tournaments in the country is mostly based on the number of teams.
600K?
Yeah, you could say, bro. बाकी अपने जिਵੇਂ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਣੇ PUBG ਦੇ ਟੂਰਨਾਮੈਂਟ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ.
Anybody though, but it's also in this economy. I'm sure. Yes. And then it's a
यार होर ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ
up down ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਸਾਈਡ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੱਗੇ ਬਟਨ
ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ bro, like for once I want to attend a esports tournament, bro.
And being able to kind of come out of left field, right? We take a look at these highlights.
Yo, oh my god.
To not only take that first place spot, but
ਮੈਂ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਕਾਲ ਆਫ ਡਿਊਟੀ ਲੀਗ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਚ and my team won.
They were able to also see that Zane, who had taken the portal down,
ਉੱਥੇ ਦੇਖਣ ਜਾਣਾ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ.
leaving only Blast alive before the end of it, and then Guild getting the finishing blow with the RE.
ਚੱਜ ਦੇ ਰੌਕ ਕੌਣ ਰਿਹਾ ਪੈਸਾ bro ਪੈਸਾ ਰੋਕ ਰਿਹਾ.
How do I share a content? Is that not a thing in this?
It was Optic Texas.
Truly a 27-point game in match number 2. Based off the fact that they have 4 or 5 points in match
team
number 1,
we're
feeling good.
Shotzi.
We'll jump to a quick commercial.
PD ਦਾ ਰੋਲ ਕਿਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ? Get job.
Play is in our DNA.
W Optics, bro. Optics was insane, man. Like Scump तो मैं perish क्यों हो रहा due to the war, man.
Now imagine an entire city being built to suit.
मैं यार खान को लेके आया मेरा भरा एक मिनट मैं मैडम से ट्राई किया थी पर साले ने टूर्नामेंट ही पोस्टपोन करता bro.
अच्छा अभी चूज कर सकते हैं ਆਪਾਂ ਇਦਾਂ
You have? You think?
And
Damn, yeah,
welcome
this shit's
back
clean,
to
though.
the ALGS Split 1 playoffs at EWC 2026. Oh, 2 games down and a long way to go until you're in that match point finals. But groups A and B, you know, they've really been showing out. We talked about consistency. We talked about Gaming Gladiators. I'm actually really impressed with Flat, who set up early there with their Watson fences inside the bus. On the high ground, you got Nano, Big Louie, Q. They've always kind of been one of the most, dare I say, underrated teams of the Americas. They have these like pop-off performances and you're like, okay, let's see it again. And to drop 6 kills, get a 13-point game, positive damage differential, those are the starts. Shopify Rebellion, who grab a top 4 there as well. Just a couple of kills, but the fact that they were just trying to stay alive on the low ground is something to be said to make it to 4th. Our winners of match number 1 do end up in the top 5 scenario as well, so the points line is going to look great for them. And Vicky, we're saying goodbye to Seer.
Hasta la vista to Seer. No more of that double tech shenanigans here. But you know what that also means, Tiff, because we are still going on to E-District for our final game, match number 3 here, guys, before we transition on to Storm Point. The altars have been a problem. Gotta talk about, you know, getting those resets for free. You may not be done here, but it's being able to get these difficult
नहीं पुलिस पे डबल एल पे कहीं पे
at the ready here, or even a tough tower in general. Rotates themselves, especially for
Piece
teams like yourself,
4 pa de 5 boss ban
to
gaya
play objective, get information if they know they're gonna slow
Okay,
rotate,
5 है नहीं का
prioritize these survey beacons.
You say AG Global, and I'm like, did Yanya get his 2 knocked? Did he get his 2 knocks? Did I reverse out into the universe? Because all I saw was Yanya getting knocked first, and that's very uncharacteristic of that roster. And I was like, I shouldn't have said anything until it was achieved. Now, here's the cool part, right? You talked about Dory a lot when Falcons rotated in. On the screen, you've got Muscle subbing in for show. And Muscle is actually the coach of this roster. Match number 1, locks in the crypto. And if you're going to have your coach that can play to the level of pro play on LAN for you and to be in there, you're getting like all this information and all the strats in real time. I hear you, crowd. I see you going crazy for Bushka, Zane, and Blast. Those cheers they're there.
MDT,
the door locks.
Right? These are teams, we said it earlier, they show up when it comes to it at LAN all the time.
It's about being consistent, right? Before we make that transition to a map that maybe some of these teams find themselves kind of snowballing a little bit. There's a little bit of that stall, right, when it comes to momentum. But if anything, with Falcons and the way that they've been performing, dude, I mean, 18 total KP in just 2 games alone is what you like to see. You highlight Wolves.
कर लेना जे तन्नू ये नहीं पता स्लैश एडमिन मेन्यू खोल ले अगर ਉਹਦੇ ਚ आइटम लिस्ट आ ਜਾਂਦੀ है
trailing right behind them. I believe it's like 28 total points, but it's Falcons that not only took that dub previously, but with a good amount of KP to their name. Guild really stepping up. I mean, How's right behind him with like a 1 kill difference, right? So he's got 6 KP, as well as Waltzy. He's also been able to get these beautiful rolls. It's about this 3rd game to set us up before we make that change up to Storm Point.
Yeah, and essentially, if you're not good at Storm Point, which, let's be real, Storm Point's been competitive for quite some time now, and I think Axel's going to make a large move when we move on over to Storm Point. Then you need to focus on E-District. That's your better map. Get the majority of your points. You mentioned Wolves top 5 in map number 2. They were the first seed coming in from APAC South, and they had a really stellar match day performance record when you think about it. Sure, it kind of fell off in 7th place performance on the regional finals, but before that, they won, I believe, 3 match days in the regular split 1. That's consistent.
That is actually crazy here, and it's about being able to put that energy right when you're in land, and that's what matters in trying to find your footing as we get set up for game number 3. Everybody, we highlighted the POI draft. We've seen already, what is it, like 2 southern maps already, that was rather zones that we've seen so far, Tiff. One of them being the first game pulling over to Harbor, while the other one pulling onto the outskirts closer to the bridge side of Draft Point.
Yeah, and it's like, do we go south again? Do we? And honestly, I will say, teams played a lot quicker in match number 1 in terms of like, we saw more teams fall out faster. They were fighting, they were kind of just getting all this away and just chowing everything. Match number 2, going back down south, was a bit more reserved. But now it's time for game number 3 on E-District. Will the tides turn? Will we go to the north? Or will we have another victor?
Or who will stand tall as tall as the Eiffel Tower that you saw right there in the back, everybody. I mean, yeah, we got to see it yesterday, right?
Item,
and it gives a lot of motivation for these teams with the way that Falcons have now set themselves
brother,
up.
items search kar de. Item.
Into this final game on E-District before we transcend over onto Storm Point.
Give item.
And by the way, One of the zones that we talked about, it may not be Southern Zone as we've seen the back-to-back for Game 1 and 2, but Tiff, you mentioned it before, and it looks like a zone that we've seen plenty of times.
Nice, let's go. Finally, you did it.
Over by their POI over on City Hall.
And this is the best part. Falcons Guild on the Watson grabs the ring console over at Stadium. We see the pop, and this is where that immediately goes, hey, we gotta run. We're going towards the north. It pulls right onto City Hall. Like you said, Shopify Rebellion fighting for their lives in that top 5 in match number 2. Now have to contend with everyone running at you flat. Zedai Esports on the run. Havoc is going to have a nice moment here because we can look for information, but they're going to catch wind of everyone just full ascending to the north. So a lot of teams are going to seek to join them. Wolves Esports over from the eastern side of things will do so as well for fun on the north, and JD Gaming dropping evacs as well.
I see her presence in this lobby too, Tiff. Well, you take a look at the teams that are starting to rotate. Mad Maggie is the most
अब पता क्या करेंगे पूरे सर्वर में हम फोर्स करेंगे कि यही चलाओ जाने के like no one can change पूरा टीम मेरे साथ होगा
going onto game number 4, which is important because it opens up a lot of these different legend compositions.
to be honest जेड़ा टॉप राइट पे आ रहा है ना ओहो मैंने वो नहीं सुना था आएगा
हाँ नहीं मुझे लगा
player information
Zedai on the outside, Virtus Pro at their back, zaps across the way. This is where you have to play to perfection because third parties will show up indeed from behind.
नहीं मुझे थल्ले में वो भी दिखा देंगे थल्ले वाला मेन्यू केड़ा सोना है
थल्ले वाला गोल जब मुझे बढ़िया लगा बट मैंने जेड़ा मैप दी पोजीशन है बहुत ज्यादा ऊंची लगती है
वो तो रीसेट कर सकता ब्रो
Zedai are looking to get the res over onto the deadlock floating, by the way, is farming with the Sentinel in hand. Dory cannot catch a break. Zedai not moving up. It's going to be Trinity on the other side of the roof side. And with so many ultras still in the lobby, this fight could be isolated for now, but not for very long here, because Flat are also within the vicinity as well as for fun.
All right, Falcons getting into a
screen
as well as everyone still fights their way up towards where we're currently situated. Wolves from Humbert start to make their appearance. And I think that's great for Trinity. Lock down the building across the way. You can see where Zedai are. They've got the fences outlining the zips. Things are getting crazy.
The nearest
and for
post.
Cross Gaming, Shaoshin already down, and Falcons are on the prowl.
Nearest postal 5012 right there. Speed meter de utte.
The finishing blow into the knock player. They don't want any resets.
Out there.
With the alter TPs, and it's an isolated
fight. तो पुराना लगेगा तो reset कर ला फिर reset होते हुए बाहर जाएगा. Escape to the bar escape.
कैसा नंबर क्या हाल है भाई? Sorry brother. और boys third game. कोई team बाहर तो नहीं हुई? I think we're getting a match switch next game.
Great work from the Falcons on their strategic fighting. You really can't expect anything less from the Falcons. That's what they're going to do.
Scary when the Falcons are out. But AG Global,
Falcons fighting,
who also want to capitalize off the ring console and some more
Falcons won their KP, bro.
Are going to show face, but they will be a little late. These teams do manage to get away. That one player coming out of Heights and Falcons.
I want to check out the drug system. PDM
crazy pileup that we have. Over onto the northwestern side, Gen G versus Zeta over on the outskirts of Street Market.
But actually there is
Zeta, by the way, already put down the portal. That's important because Zeta will be looking to reset over the Neon Square on the edge of that next zone. But then we get to see this beautiful replay too. And it's going to be Shopify over by their POI, which at the moment they really needed to come out on top, considering after 2 games alone, they're sitting in 9th place overall with only 12 total points.
Oh, that was a good push.
Well, to be fair,
Shopify Rebellion's out.
Team out of the lobby for match number 3. They drop the Mad Maggie ball. We see the initial knocks coming in. They take Mike down. They go for the full. And if I'm Zeta, I have to focus on, do we see a reset? Can we be evasive when it's your Watson player last standing and just trying to make a reset? We try to make it happen.
Well, the fans are giving them the energy, though. Zeta Division are on the run, and Gen G are hungry. We
got kills.
This southwestern side of the zone, and Tiff, you know, you were highlighting them before. May not be the first team out of the lobby this time, but that's how it starts before we change maps.
It's okay. Maybe they just had a nice little regain between match 2 and match 3, and they're like, yeah, okay, we got that out of the way. Now we're like on another, what do they call that? When you're just like so tired that you're just like whatever.
Jet lagged, exhausted, and everything. A shell of your existence.
So I'm the lead.
That looks dope.
Right, I can invite players.
to get the KP and start things up while we take a look.
Second wind, that's it. Production.
Ideal bugs करता है मेरे तो.
Meanwhile, me, I'm like thinking deflated because I would feel that way. I mean, it's different to do what Gen G is doing right now, and this is how it really starts. If we take a look, oh my, close that door right now. Shubi couldn't even put one toe out of line before getting punished for his positioning right there with the door opened. Other teams now taking control over the high ground bridge. And with a lot of these other squads now making their way to City Hall. See Flat who are playing on the outskirts. Dory on that northeastern side looking down at For Fun as well as JD Gaming. And AG now also making their slow rotate on the outskirts of zone.
Will they get the 2 knocks for Yanya? He's on Wraith. He can be a little sneaky. Is it going to happen? Do you find Deep Cross Gaming? Or are we kind of looking to get out of there, maybe find that information as that circle even more collapses? I just want to harken back to the fact that Shopify Rebellion couldn't withstand the people throwing themselves at City Hall, but back to match number 1 when we went Humbert, Wolves converted from their POI. And that says something to me.
And how much they could actually try to get advantage of some of these POI pools, or some of these teams actually rather side quest to get the information depending on the different legend compositions. I mean, with the amount of Watsons that we have in this lobby too, you have to imagine how great that's going to be.
So this is the crafting bench guns. They blips both are guns
of City Hall, but to their back too is going to be Unlimit over the other side. Zeta Division are going to be able to get the respawn to 2 of their members. That's going to be big too, with JDG also looking to get this res onto floating, being one of the teams that are rocking out with the Wraith. We're seeing a little bit more of Wraith this time around compared to our last game, Tiff.
I am enjoying it, and I think keeping floating on like characters like Wraith, like Axel, is where he can really shine. We did see, actually, when we tuned in to Naughty on the Mad Maggie voice line came through, I was like, whoa, that sounds like Lace. Is she in my comms?
I'm sorry,
Lace. I was just thinking about you.
Where out here? तो crafting अपन नहीं दिया. कोई नहीं पाया.
Take a look at how a lot of these teams are
वो भला कितना ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ वो prodigy ਦੀ script ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ
नहीं
They did just grab that ring console. They waited out all the way on that northeastern side of things out into the
ਇਹ
ring.
ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ bro ਲੱਭਣੀ ਪੈਣੀ
They
ਤੈਨੂੰ
rotate in. Falcons grabs
ਉਹਦੇ ਚ I think dogs ਵਗੈਰਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਣੀ ਆ
bank, and they're kind of going in on the south side. So those are good shouts.
Where usually where out here?
They're able to also get that reset over by Old Town too. It goes hard well.
नहीं
Two
दूसरा
Falcons
कहता ना
now
भी crafting वगैरह
outside of Energy Bank.
Closer
to where the
crafting
squads
battle जिसमें scrap कर देंगे
one another with Gaming Gladiators being one of the raid teams are going to be able to prio getting the Evil Harvester, get back safely into the building that exits out of the choke. Where eventually with Falcons showing their presence, they're calling in the evac tower. AGG looking ahead, taking their time full purples, while Yanya is going to be able to start painting the path for the rest of his team to get a little aggressive here, and it's going to be dealing with Flat on the other side of this portal. Isolate fight at that unless JD want to look at this, but they're too busy with Dory. So AGG want to be able to clean up some of this KP.
Oh, okay, Yanya, so close, but there it goes. You got a portal on out of there, immediately looking for those knocks and the pressure, and they find the resistance from Flat. A ton of teams still trying to find their positioning around City Hall. But having to contend with Flat is something that needs to be done earlier than not. Because if we go into this endgame with, 16 squads, we're currently at 19. I'd imagine on rotation, the next circle, we'll lose a couple.
ਉਹ ਸਿਰਫ ਦਿਖਾਉਂਦਾ ਪਿਆ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੇਜ ਲਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕ੍ਰਾਫਟਿੰਗ ਕਰਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿਖਾਉਂਦਾ ਪਿਆ
ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਡਰੱਗ ਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ
And what we've been seeing with these altars, you see them trying to look about to see if they
I'm
can
look crafting map te dekhta rahi hai.
Gotta back away as well, literally leaving him one shot. Nano Trips trying to be able to give him suppressed fire.
All right te.
Longbow in hand, but taking their time flat.
Bench.
They're trying to boost up these
inventory
GG still at full purple here, or haven't been able to fully capitalize. But
Mama slide की इधर हुई है तुम crafting bench right थे.
हाँ तो bench
right behind him, where there is a ring console as
यही
well
ਹੁੰਦਾ
as a beacon, just so that way
जाज ਉੱਥੇ ਇਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ
ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਤਾਂ ਲੌਕ ਪਿਕ ਬਣਦਾ ਉਹ bench ਤਾਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਬਈ ਜਿੱਥੋਂ ਸਮਾਨ ਲੱਭਣਾ
and you're contending with a team that's on 3
open
hurdles.
table
It's like
की
going up against
38 और लिखा 38 के लिए
you're
E
looking for the smart way. How can we turn those numbers? And if we can grab a nice knock onto that, maybe skew the numbers, that's how you approach that. But for now, you just say we're not going to take this fight. For AG Global, though, they keep on moving forward. We're trying to get to that choke point in which Havoc actually occupies. And Zeta, on the other hand,
okay ਇੱਥੇ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ
I'm looking for some
allocation ਆ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਦੰਨਾ
interesting though, the fact that we're seeing this ring pull tip. it's closer to the slopes by the Sierra that overlooks that Moby, and it's better for teams like Zedai who have the high ground alongside Wolves who are looking to find themselves in a really top 5 position to be able to boost those points. Trinity on the outskirts of the zone too, but are just trying to pepper away the damage onto Wolves. And Trinity who are going to be able to now hold that southern side, but it's going to be Falcons and Genji who will be able to look at each other here, see how Falcons want to try to
copper.
Zeta.
Oh, अच्छा तू साइकिल जॉब की गल कर रहे हैं.
That's gonna hurt, right? Because we talked about where did Flat go when they were fighting AG Global, and they don't have many options.
Oh, मैं चकती क्योंकि मैं क्या बड़ी default job होता करके. So basically ਜਿਹੜਾ iron copper ਆ ਆਪਾਂ के ਹੋਰ job ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਪਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਆਪਾਂ arrangement ਲਈ ਆ. ਜਿਹੜਾ amount ਹਾਂ ਨਿਕਲਣਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਤੈਨੂੰ item output ਚ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਡ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ.
ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਇਦਾਂ ਰੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਇੰਨੇ ਚਾਂਸਸ ਆ ਮਿਲਣ ਦੇ ਇੰਨੇ ਚਾਂਸਸ ਆ ਮਿਲਣ ਦੇ. But यार वो पता क्या है ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੰਦਾ ਹੁੱਕ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੇਰਸ ਵਾਲੀ ਜੌਬ
ਯਾਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਾਲੀ ਬੇਸਿਕ ਜੀ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਸੀ ਉਹ.
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੂੰ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਚ ਪਾਉਣ ਵਾਲਾ
ਤੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਰੇਲਮੈਟ ਵਾਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਲੀਗਲ ਜੌਬਸ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਪਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ
ਮਾਈਨਿੰਗ ਕਰਾ ਪਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਘਰ पे ਜਾਣਾ.
ਹਾਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਕੋਈ ਅਰੇਂਜਮੈਂਟ ਦੀ ਲਿਸਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਦਿਖਾਈ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਜੌਬਸ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ.
Of this lobby, 18 squads left, and now Flat gets a show face after Falcons barely took a lick of damage.
That's true. They are so healthy, and Guild picking up the first knock on Denono. You see the Mad Moggy balls coming through. Walsey gets booped, but Guild, he is just full sending into it one of my aggressive Watson picks of our series. And he's just kind of zigzagging, diving out flat, disengage, go back towards the north. And Falcons are making a run for it. 13 seconds until that circle collapses, but there's still other teams on the horizon looking to find them. Wait, Flat? They don't commit to the north.
No, they don't. Now Flat are kind of just stuck seeing if they're going to be able to get away, but that's going to be difficult. I mean, it's round 3 at this point here. We're going to have to see what's going to happen to Flat with Falcons actually getting into that next
ਕਿਹੜੀ electrician ਚ ਹੈ ਨਾ?
on the low ground of the I mean, can you imagine if a zone like this by City Hall ended up pulling more so to the northwest? That would have been brutal. But the fact that they pulled right here next to Falcons where they're holding this choke for so long to clear their backs.
ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹਦਾ ਵੇਖ ਕੇ ਆਣਾ ਕਰੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਦੇ ਬਣਦਾ ਹੈ.
ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਡਿਸਾਈਡ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਮਿਨੀਮਮ ਮੈਕਸਿਮਮ ਜੋ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਬਟ ਉਹਦਾ ਚਾਂਸ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ ਰੈਂਡਮ ਆਈਟਮ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਣ ਲਈ. Like we can put a random chance and then ਇੱਕ ਲਿਸਟ ਹੋਣੀ ਆ ਪੂਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਚੋਂ ਆਪ ਉਹ ਰੈਂਡਮਲੀ ਆਈਟਮ ਜਾਣੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ
ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਆ.
ਹਲੇ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇ ਰਿਹਾ ਇਲੈਕਟ੍ਰੀਸ਼ੀਅਨ.
ਚਾਹੀਦੇ 5 ਆਇਰਨ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਆ. ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਸੋ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ
ਭਾਈ ਵੀ ਲੱਗੀ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਇੱਕ ਰਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ
ਤਾਂ ਮਿਨੀਮਮ ਮਿਲੇ
for fun on the outskirts.
Guaranteed.
Gaming holding a very split angle. One member JD still inside.
Maximum lala.
Maximum R9 shots. Only blue let Mag here going to be able to get that information.
With the chances are the
ultra too, but for dropping
like
down,
1/5
destroying these Watson fences, but it's about showing face.
Percentage ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ.
The zone will be closing right behind them.
And I told you this is one of those squads that had to lock in their ticket to here at EWC because of those regional finals. They won.
So 20% chances ਹੋਣੇ ਆ ਪਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਚੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹ ਕਰਨਾ ਆ. Yes, randomize ਹੋਣੀ ਆਈਟਮ.
ਦੂਜਾ ਲਾ ਦੇ 10 ਨਹੀਂ 20 ਕਰ ਦੇ.
This is where the entire lobby starts to shake up if you can't get into that next circle.
By the way, well, Falcons climbing from the low ground here.
Minimum to maximum number 10.
ਇੱਕ ਮਿੰਟ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੌਕਸਮਿਥ ਵਾਲਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਪਏ ਨਾ
ਇਲੈਕਟ੍ਰੀਸ਼ੀਅਨ
ਨਹੀਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਲੈਕਟ੍ਰੀਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਈਟਮ ਪਾ ਰਹੇ
ਮਿਨੀਮਮ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਮਿਲੂਗਾ
I mean absolutely nowhere. They were forced to back away. They get eliminated before that.
ਹਾਂ ਮਿਨੀਮਮ ਇੱਕ ਉਹ ਵੀ 20% ਚਾਂਸ ਵਿੱਚ
taking a look at TIE as
ਮੈਕਸਿਮਮ 15
but a majority of these teams were banking on playing
ਇੱਕ ਆਇਰਨ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਫਿਰ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਆਈਟਮ ਪਾਉਣੀ ਆ?
ਕਾਪਰ ਅਜੇ ਤਾਂ ਇਹੀ ਆ
ਕਾਪਰ ਵੀ ਆ
ਕਾਪਰ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਹਟੇ
ਮੈਂ ਹਲੇ ਆਇਰਨ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਹਟਿਆ.
ਆਇਰਨ ਕੱਢ ਦੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਚੋਂ ਆਇਰਨ ਪਾਉਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਬਾਕਸ ਵਿੱਚ
and they want to put pressure onto that. If they step too far out of their coverage, GG is going to eviscerate them. For JD Gaming, look, they're making their approach. It's not going to be pretty. It's up towards the north, and AG Global is on the other side trying to prevent floating, but this is why Wraith is so fun.
Sorry, iron.
Find a shred of cover.
Okay, minimum 1, maximum.
Minimum 1, maximum 8.
Playing up the staircase while they do
Done.
that JGG though, it's going to take a lot of time away, similar to what
Or-
we've seen with Trinity and Falcons, where they're kind of forced to play off that low ground before this next zone starts.
ਹੋਰ ਐ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਾ ਪਤਾ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਈ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਆਈਟਮਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਪੂਲ ਚ ਤੇ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚਾਹੀਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਦੇਖੋ ਹੋਰ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਕੀ ਕਰਾਫਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ
Coming into that next zone and get that free KP.
It's true. I mean, look, when you drop your portal already, JD Gaming didn't have a way to go, and they had so many resources on the high ground that allows them to just take these mid-range fights that are smart, and you have resources. Virtus Pro, who was inside that circle, they fall, and you know who took them? It was Game and Gladiators. Taskmaster, Osis, and Prestis are out of the lobby. Good pickup here to get Zane back into the fight. Reset, because we don't get third party, but I'd imagine that someone is going to look to play for this. PXX to the north is a solo. Deep Cross Gaming is too busy looking at AG Global. So will someone from the south side try to challenge that or no? Do we see a top 5 performance out of Gaming Gladiators just by being in the better position?
I mean, if they're going to be able to get some KP this time around and they've found themselves consistently in that top 5, absolutely don't change things up here. But it depends on how this fight over from Team Falcons goes, because it's the control for the north.
Yeah, there's like
DCG taking a book, or rather page, out of the AGG book, and looking to see if they can try to harass DCG.
ਯਾਰ ਗਨ ਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਪਾਉਣਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਇਹ
ਨਹੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਦੇਖਦਾ ਵੀ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਅੱਗੇ ਅਨਲੌਕ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੋਰ ਇਹਦੀ XP ਦਾ ਚੱਕਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ XP ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਖੋਲਣਾ ਇਹ ਅੱਗੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਲੌਕ ਕਰ ਲੈ
15 XP ਵਾਸਤੇ ਵੈਪਨ ਪਿਸਟਲ ਤੇ ਅਸੌਲਟ ਰਾਈਫਲ ਲਈ 50 XP ਦਾ
getting a little bit of revenge.
I love the way they threw that down. Deep Cross Gaming go for the reset after taking down the Falcons, but it's still Gen G. The match 3 comeback on the southern
ਕਰਨਾ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਤੇ XP ਮਿਲ ਜਾਣੀ ਹੈ
Trinity and ZI Esports.
ਉਹਦਾ ਖੁੱਲੀ ਜਾਣੇ ਆ ਹੋਰ ਕੀ ਖੁੱਲਣੇ ਅੱਗੇ
Choose where we want to play from, and you look
ਵੈਪਨ ਪਿਸਟਲ ਤੇ ਅਸੌਲਟ ਰਾਈਫਲ ਵਾਲੇ ਪਈ ਵਿੱਚ
locking into the axle right now. You've got
ਕਰਾਫਟਿੰਗ ਚ ਐਡ ਕਰੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਚੋਂ
ਹਾਂ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਦੇ ਚੱਕਰ
we still have 3 teams, 2 in the north.
Okay, what about what's the illegal jobs? ਕਿਹੜੇ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਪਾਏ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ
ਡਰਗ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਇਆ
They have the altar come out in clutch, but it's DCG who are waiting for that Dory looking at DCG, which could work as a double-edged sword depending on how long this Gen G versus ZI Esports fight does play off. But Gen G waking up a little bit now.
नहीं is it like
and this is what you want to see from a team who just
बट वाला सिस्टम
You really do.
Andy
is going to actually start opening that engagement on to Gen G.
Schedule 1 game खेली है
Getting into the mix as well.
केडी
Dory on the other angle.
Schedule 1
yeah मुझे तो
bas 4 squads we go. Duke does need to get res, but we cannot let Dory stabilize on the other end. Behind the Newcastle, Katsuki hits the med kit, and we are stabilizing, but it's
ਹੁਣ
not.
ਕੱਲ ਉਹ ਦੇਖੀ ਹੋਣੀ ਆ ਫਿਰ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਵੇਖਦਾ ਸਮਾਨ
I feel like ਪੈਡ ਐਡ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਜਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਉਹਦੇ
clear out Dory. ZI Esports get to see another day as they move up. They capitalize with Gaming Gladiators now also trying to find their place, yeeting the nades up into the air. Thanks to the gens though, they get deleted unless you're Rory, who is left one shot from one of the nades himself, hugging the gen for dear life.
But when does Gaming Gladiators make their appearance? They'll have to evac over and onto the high ground, but the timing has to be perfect. For Jelly, the fences, this is one of the most interesting fights. Like, we take an inch, you give a mile, another to meet you there. The Mad Maggie ball in the back pocket from Duke. And we are just swinging around, hanging the gen. Duke falls. Jelly trying to stabilize, can't do it. Deep with a wingman in hand, fencing with the other. And it's Deep Cross Gaming who's able to take out ZI. And here come Gaming Gladiators to clean it up and take match number 3. The timing of that final play for them was impeccable.
Big difference in having the altar get up to the high ground, get a little cheeky.
So we had a Wolf Esports, Team Falcons, Gaming Gladiators.
Before tip, we talk about finding yourself in the top 5 for a lot of these end zones. and the patient play for Gaming that let the whole
we have
lobby
3
collapse
more
into
to
another
go.
high ground before cleaning up the
I
rest
feel
of
that
the opposition
Kanagare.
for game number 3.
A brilliant showing as well for Gaming Gladiators in our first 3 matches. A 5th in match number 1. You've got a 2nd in match number 2. And then to button off E-District with a dominating win. Because it just goes to show you, we've got our timing down. We have our positioning. And if they would have entered maybe just a bit too soon, you kind of know, hey, that's not going to go our way. We're running right into those Watson gens, the nades.
एक जनरल स्टोर करके स्टोर
That's not what you want to walk into. But
जिथे
they
तू
wait for
चीजें
that
खरीद
final
सकदा
fight,
which is
and they
this.
go immediately to clean up.
And it's tough too when you may have all these nades hurdle in the opposite direction. You have the right
Yeah,
people
दूसरी location
already,
है या
also
to buy stuff.
carried out at a gen, right? So it's all for naught at that point too.
Exactly.
When it comes to try, exactly.
This is where you can
You're trying to take a different
put the
angle, and then the team
stuff.
that did have Axel at the rather not Axel, Ultra at the very end there came out on being able to put down those TPs right through the walls. Being able to try to get kidnap while you're at it, especially with the amount of Watson fences that are met on the other side.
That's what teams scrim for, though, right? When you TDM other squads, that's what that looks like. It's like navigating the fences.
Look at that, like
the free cam, right? And that's where GG comes in at the perfect time. You got Luke
Ryan
and Glass
Gordon
together in the
Rossi
north.
drugs yeah.
TP placement beautifully done to allow GG to get up onto the high ground, avoid a lot of that chaos. But it goes hand in hand with the different legend compositions when it comes to, you know, noting the
drugs admin menu te click
grain, seeing gaming
slash करके drugs admin menu.
dub. We saw them face off against Falcons for game number 2, falling in 2nd place, but then getting the win before we transition onto Storm Point.
Great way to kick things off in this series. The first 3 games phenomenal enough like that. You just got to maintain some more top 5s, even top 10s on the back half in Storm Point. And next thing you know, that's a great showing for groups A and B.
It's nice to see what we get to see everybody set up on the stage, getting situated in the audience. And before we transition into Storm Point, I want to hear a little bit from Rain Day while he's talking to Gaming Gladiators.
So much, Vic. You know, GG is appropriate, however, not for Gaming Gladiators, for the team that won against Gaming Gladiators in a 3v3 in Game 2. That's Falcons. What's up, Mr. Gildersons? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
You seem like you're in a good mood. Tell me why.
I mean, the boys are playing well. We just had 2 really hard games that we made a lot of points out of, so we're pretty happy right now.
43, 46, something like that after 3 games. I mean, this is kind of what you guys felt like you needed to do coming into this, right? Start strong and keep that momentum up.
Yeah, I mean, the boys are playing the way that we need to be playing. I mean, we're making everything that we can out of these games, so, I mean, we're just doing good.
Listen, there's early lobbies. We're figuring out circles. We're figuring out legend bands. I want to talk about you. A guy who's been here through so many different orgs, from the energies to the moist to the liquids. Now you're here with Falcons. You're one of those players that just is brilliant. You've been around. You keep doing what you've done. What's your journey coming here, and what do you feel is at stake for you at this EWC?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I got like a really good second chance in a way, because I mean, I went 2 out of 3 lands in a row without making finals, and it's just been nice to prove that this is where I belong.
Does that proving sometimes come with the disappointment that happened after those lands, the hard looks that you said, you know, I know I can be better? How does the proof actually show up for you? Would it be winning, or is it just giving a performance that you know, hey, I showed out?
I mean, it's less about winning and just playing to like my full potential as a player. You know, just making sure that I'm always showing up, regardless of how everyone else is doing.
You got some, maybe not family coming, your girlfriend's coming to visit you. Support in the stands. It means a lot. How does it feel just being live in comparison, being in a city like this?
It's amazing. I mean, it's nice because everybody else plays super scared, so that's pretty nice. But
you guys have been here, that's for sure. You have the maturity buff. Well, Gildersons, we're gonna let you go get ready. A few more games to go. You guys are in a great position. Good luck, and hopefully you finish it out.
ਮੈਂ ਬਸ ਉਹਨੇ ਕੁੱਬਿਆ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਵੇਖ ਲੱਗਾ ਕੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਪਏ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਰੰਗ ਢੰਗ ਦਿਖਾਈ ਜਾ ਭਰਾ ਕੌਣ ਹੋਏ ਬੈਠੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੁੱਬਣਾ ਸੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕੁੱਬਣਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਕੁੱਬਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੁੱਬਣਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕੁੱਬ ਗਿਆ
We were there for every click, every clutch, every respawn. We were there for the years of grind, and we're here now. The proud founding partner of EWC, powering the biggest event in gaming, shoulder to shoulder with the world's best, making history. Greatness deserves a stage. Lenovo Legion, reach your impossible.
Add this patrol can. plant pot. Which is all. You do not have enough time. ਉਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਥੋੜੀ ਖੁੱਬੂਗਾ ਵਾਟ ਤੇ
We are
ਉਹ ਫਿਰਦਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਦੋ ਹੋਵੇ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਆਪ ਖੇਚਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਿਹਤ ਆ ਉਹਦੀ ਹੈਲੋ ਜੀ ਚੱਲ ਚੰਗਾ ਯਾਰ ਬਈ ਵੇ ਹੀ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਜੀ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਆ ਦੁੱਧ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਇਆ ਜੀ ਅਜੇ
Is there a reverse caster curse? Did I just do that? Maybe they're like, I'm trying to prove her wrong. I'm so sick of that, that lady just, ruining our games. And look, they did. In the final matches, when it was, I think it was JDG and GG, looking like one of those was sort of going to win at that moment in time. They sort of held that height in a sense. They were battling it out, but who was there lurking in the throws? It was, of course, Wolves Esports. And, a great thing about them too is, you've got Crazy Kong as well, and Gugu is like a newer addition to the team. But yeah, man, they cemented it very, very well, Seven.
I will just say, you definitely cast a curse on one of the teams that you said. You were talking about Genji hyping them up. They did come back a little bit, but it was definitely a rough first game with those, a little bit of a donut essentially. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Teams have also been popping off, and that's always a great thing to see. But I would also like to say, though, we saw a little bit in the interview, some teams are playing scared. You can definitely see that.
Well, all gamers, actually, I just got told this. All gamers, Janja, just got his 1,000 knocks in ALGS. So that's really impressive.
That's what kills than you, right?
I don't know. I don't even know how much I have, actually.
Not 1,000.
Actually, I think I might have. I don't know. We'll have to double check on that. We'll have to double check on that.
the stats.
Not in live events.
I've been playing for not in live events. I'm saying he said ALGS. I've been playing in circuits, bro.
I wonder how many people we have on that list at this point.
I think I'm pretty far up. I don't think I'm at 1,000, but I'm definitely far up.
Still kind of high up there after all these years. I've been taking
that's what I'm saying.
I have 2.
The washed people are still here.
We go. Let us at them.
You got more than I do, by the way. But if anybody does have those stats, please let us know on social media. Make sure you tag us as well. And earlier we were talking about caster cursing. I'm sorry I'm going to have to do this to you tonight, but you were talking about Seda earlier. After 2 matches, that squad ended up with 0 points. Maybe a little bit of a caster curse. You were concerned, though. You were really concerned about that team.
I was. We definitely caster cursed 2 of the 3 teams we talked about. So, we'll go with that. Team. But Zeta, honestly, I mean, this was the biggest concern I had with that team is they dominated so much in their region, in APAC North, that I don't think they were ready for the firepower around the edge because they're such a fast-paced, aggressive team, and their region itself is not that style, and when you're the only one playing that, it's a lot easier to play around the edge. And you noticed it on this time around the edge, they're running into Falcons, they're running into AG, they're running into
ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬੈਂਕ ਟੈਪ ਓਏ ਬੈਂਕ ਪਾਏ ਨਹੀਂ
ਨਹੀਂ ਬੈਂਕਿੰਗ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਈ ਉਹ ਕਾਰਤਿਕ ਦੇਊਗਾ ਸਕ੍ਰਿਪਟ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਆਈ ਆ
ਆਹ 15 ਮਿੰਟ ਦੇਣਾ
ਮੈਂ ਲਿਖਣ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਹਾਂ
ਤੇਰੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਾਰਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪੱਟਿਆ
No, see ki chuck ke leg.
Having that.
ਉਹ ਸਾਈਡ ਵਾਲਾ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਕਰੀਦਾ?
Are we supposed to have any clue? ਓਏ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਕੰਮ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਰਹਿਣਗੇ, ਲੀੜੇ ਲੂੜੇ ਤਾਂ ਬਣ ਹੀ ਜਾਣਗੇ।
ਉਹ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਪਿਆ ਭਰਾਵਾ ਵੀ ਕਲੋਥਿੰਗ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਆਈ ਹੈ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਨਹੀਂ।
ਹੋਰ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਕੱਢਿਆ ਪਹਿਲਵਾਨੀ ਇੱਕ।
ਕੀ ਖਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈਪੀ? ਕੀ ਖਾਦਾ?
ਖਾਣਾ ਭਰਾ ਬਣੀ ਖਾਦਾ ਹਲੇ।
ਟਕਾਰ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਜੀ ਟਕਾਰ?
Those nervous, Grace, I'm gonna go with you.
I mean, top 10.
You want to see Grace in these 3 matches coming up?
So E-District is one of the maps that you're actually allowed to play the easiest because there's so many chokes you can go through. Stormpoint is also one of the maps you're able to play more comfortably than, let's just say, World's Edge as an example, or even Olympus, where you can get gate kept in chokes quite a lot. But now looking at Stormpoint, there's a reason why so many teams immediately pick that map, because they're more scared of the results fluctuating on that map. So hopefully.
Wind the main.
Okay.
Have the main. Okay, सही है.
Is it a driving test?
No, electrical job.
What's the number on the side?
Oh, to just speedometer.
नहीं 7000 8000
RPM ਆ
35 ਆ ਗਏ ਥੱਲੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਸੀ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਜਾਣ ਦੇ ਖੱਬੇ ਨੂੰ
Huh?
ਚੱਕ ਕੇ ਤਾਂ ਮਾਰ
Drag cables to connect. Yo.
Yeah.
Good job, मिली अपन.
For them, Zeta
Return to
Division,
dispatch.
for example, a squad who picked it first, wanting to make sure they use that advantage coming out from APAC
Yeah,
North
that sounds
as
good.
the #1 seed, the best APAC North team on Stormpoint
These
as well.
jobs are
So I'm expecting them
amazing.
to do some big things here on the
Not
map.
a
That being
UI
said,
wise.
in international competition, everything suddenly changes. A lot of the playstyle they may have been used to over in APAC North, it gets blown out of the window
Why is
here.
there
So
a
I'm excited to see how
fucking-
that changes going into this one.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned international competition as well. It's one of the
Timer for
fantastic and
feedback.
fascinating things about the Apex Legends Global Series is that we do get to see so many regions coming together. And in the first three
feedback.
games, we
What?
have winners from 3 different regions.
Yeah, there
You
was a
have, of
timer
course,
on that.
GG, who won a game. You have
Finish, yeah.
Wolves, who won
Uh-huh.
their first game. And, of course, you have Falcons
Continue.
as well in the middle, who won
So,
that second
can
game. So
I-
everybody
okay, let's-
seems
let's
to be
finish, yeah.
performing at a level
And,
across regions at the moment. Of course,
I got
only 3 games,
2300
but
out of
it's a good
that.
sign
We
early
need
on,
to
I think,
change
for
that.
fans of all different regions around the globe.
Yeah.
Very good sign indeed, and I think that there's going to be a lot of fans here cheering
ਸੌ
for
ਦੋ
various
ਸੌ
different
ਹੋਣ
teams. It's about,
ਇੱਕ ਕਰੇ ਤੇ
are your teams going to be the loudest? Are your
And,
fans going to be the loudest?
Copper
Certainly Falcons
we-
fans are very happy with their performance so far. But GG, I mean, the consistency
Alright,
we've
let
seen
me
from
dump
Gaming
them into
Gladiators at the moment, we have to be talking about from 5th to 2nd to 1st. If they can carry on with that kind of performance, they should dominate this group.
Yeah, they certainly should indeed.
Can just do
They
clear
are a team to
inventory.
keep an eye on as we get our way through the matches, and hopefully the consistency will keep going for them. Another team who I think will certainly show signs of
clear
consistency. I'm
inventory.
very impressed with Wolves. I
I
think
am
that
deep.
their playstyle is
तेरा
going
थल्ले
to
जेह्ड़े
mesh very
suggestion
well with the
ना
landing.
होंदे ना कि तू
We're
पढ़दा
a lot of
नहीं ना होवे
performances historically from them as well, and certainly a dark horse in my
पढ़िया
personal
करना
opinion
है
for when we get to match point. Should they make it to match point finals, of course, on the final day here, then they could be
अपनी
a
आईडी
team
दे
we're
भर
talking
विच
about potentially moving forward to lift that trophy.
And the players taking a look at the POI draft as well, just checking who's dropping where they're going to be competing, where are these players going to be approaching from. And speaking of Wolves, they had second pick and they went with Sito Station. So again, some of these teams that maybe haven't got as many points at the moment might be able to put some big ones on the board here as we can actually take a closer look at this POI draft. And you can see the numbers next to them. So many of these teams wanted to pick Stormpoint first, whether it's about being comfortable, whether it's about looking at those stats and seeing how many points you can pick up on a map like Stormpoint. It doesn't matter as long as you get the job done. It wasn't until we went into the 9th pick that we saw something a little bit
ਇੱਕ
different.
ਜੌਬ
And
ਤੋਂ
of course, this has
1600
been
ਤੋਂ
an
2300 ਲਿਖਿਆ
interesting
ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਜੌਬ
evolution
ਦਾ
when it comes to the POI draft.
I feel like ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ 2300 ਮਿਲਿਆ
What POIs ever since the Tridents were removed.
Yeah,
all of
we
a
gotta
sudden,
change it.
central POIs became a little bit more popular than they had been
मिलेगा
previously. Some of those POIs that had
ਹਾਏ ਰੋਨਾਲਡੋ ਬਾਹਰ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ
popular as
ਚੰਗਾ
they
ਐ
once were. And then you factor in, of course,
ਤੇ
maybe
ਉਹ
some
ਮਤਲਬ ਇੱਕ
ring
ਜੌਬ ਦਾ like
inconsistencies that
ਇੱਕ
you're seeing in scrims. All of this starts to go
bro
into
ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਣਾ
how
ਇਦਾਂ
you're gonna
ਸੀਗਾ
decide
bro
where you want to
that
play
he
from,
was a
how
selfish
that
guy
POI
man
draft, where you're going to be playing from here on Stormpoint.
Okay,
Historically, though, those
key
northern
key
POIs
that's
have been
nice.
very, very popular simply because of the geometry of Stormpoint moving from that high ground down to
ਕਿਵੇਂ
that
ਸੀਸ ਕੀ ਹਾਲ ਨੇ ਭਰਾ
You still like to pick them, you're comfortable as well, but it looks like Stormpoint is beginning to get locked in here in Paris. And as we've said, some of these teams are going to be far more comfortable here. They may have struggled on E-District, but that
ਬਾਅਦ
does not
ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਭਰਾ
matter
ਤੋਂ
now.
ਦੱਸੀ
We've
ਹਾਲ
had
ਨੇ
3 legends that have been banned going into this one, and we will see Crypto gone, Sia gone, and Maggie disappearing.
Yeah, Maggie gone as well. When you've got Sia and Maggie gone already.
ਇੱਕ ਨਾ ਚੀਜ਼ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੇਖਣੀ ਹੈ ਓਏ ਆ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਹੈਲੋ
ਹਾਲ ਇੱਕ
ਜਸਟ ਵੀ
They won't be
5-2
playable in these next 3 games.
ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਘੁਮਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਚ ਹੋਊਗੀ ਥੱਲੇ ਐਲਗੋਰਿਥਮ ਨਾਲ
ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਦਾ ਮਾਊਸ ਵੀ
Yeah, heading to the southeast by the
Yeah.
looks of things then, and it certainly
ਹੋਰ
means there's
ਕਰ
going to be a lot of opportunity for people to
ਥੱਲੇ ਜਾ
utilize
ਨਹੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ
Valkyrie here. You can see a lot of Valk in the lobby.
ਥੱਲੜੀ ਛੇੜ
And I
ਥੱਲੜੀ
think Dory will be extremely happy because down
ਚੱਲ
towards Dev Coast, a lot of these teams will be able to find space to work with, but Dory will be able to set up first. But just look at how the lay of the land changes with those legend bands that have come in here on set. The amount of Valks there, now there, Newcastle, Gibraltar, the
ਥੋੜਾ
big
ਹੋਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹੀ ਆ
very
ਥੱਲੇ ਆ
much alive and
ਹੱਥ
kicking.
ਨਾ
There is just a spring.
Oh,
fix two thingies.
we're doing Falcons man
Recently, 2 Pathfinder.
I mean we're doing a couple of teams
The entire community.
but we actually want Falcons to win
We mentioned how Dev Coast is probably going to be where our end game is taking place. No ring console.
ਬਾਕੀ bro whoever wins we are getting entertained bro
ਭਈ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਹਰੇਕ ਚੀਜ਼
ਐਡੇ ਸੋਹਣੀਆਂ ਫਾਈਟਾਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਨਾ bro
Situation of can they react quick enough? Thankfully, they've looked it pretty close. Sometimes when
Type
you get into
help.
these situations, you can get a
Secure link
sporadic looting
established.
scenario, and then you will be caught off guard. But now they'll see for fun and Virtus Pro both approaching. from Pylon for 4 Fun. Virtus.pro being able to move on that eastern side, and I'm sure
Bro, ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਮਤਲਬ they are top on the table right now. But this is like day 1.
Node SP 11
So Sunday तक मैच चल रहे ने and we oh bro server fix करी ਜਾਂਦੇ बैठे.
I hate soggy socks, but Falcons now will find that building. Like I said, they were going to move a little bit later than others. They just wanted to make sure they evac from somewhere a little bit more comfortable. But it's not necessarily a comfortable landing as well, just because they are going to take the lower ground. But for fun, they will be in a priority
कितने point
position
the
now
lead
for quite some
I think
time.
they're right now at 43 points.
Interesting to see how this zone plays into
Yeah, they're on like top right now with 43 points.
Is there a space between that?
बाकी चौथी गेम आ ਹੁਣ.
Legends that we do have available when
6 ਗੇਮਾਂ ਹੋਣਗੀਆਂ ਗਰੁੱਪ A ਤੇ B ਦੀਆਂ 6 ਗੇਮਾਂ ਹੋਣਗੀਆਂ ਗਰੁੱਪ C ਤੇ D ਦੀਆਂ ਫਿਰ ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ 6 ਗੇਮਾਂ ਹੋਣਗੀਆਂ B ਤੇ D ਦੀਆਂ A and C ਦੀਆਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਕਰ ਕਰਕੇ
ਆ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੂਜੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਪਏ ਕੱਟਦੇ
ਸੋ ਤੀਜੇ ਦਿਨ ਹੋਣਗੀਆਂ A ਤੇ D B and C ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਗੀਆਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਦੂਜੀਆਂ like quarter finals and semi finals.
But there's not usually going to result in actually any full-on engagement. Instead, it's a poke battle. Start to build up your own shields.
ਸਾਰੀ ਲੈਣੇ ਲਿਖਣੀ.
So I think total 60 ਟੀਮਾਂ ਨੇ.
A little bit tempted, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, 20.
Position that certainly interested me in
Tab ਦੇ ਨਾਲ auto complete.
Daniel Gas.
Just the one.
Enter run.
It's going to be JDG.
Yeah, sorry, 40 ਟੀਮਾਂ ਨੇ total. So 40 ਚੋਂ 20 ਟੀਮਾਂ ਜਾਣਗੀਆਂ.
Very much against the grain when it comes to everyone else in the lobby.
Yeah.
Aggressive competition is going to help them out.
Why can I type?
Managed to survive up on that high ground. The one
So survival stage ਵੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ. They have a survival stage 10 ਗੇਮਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ
all with the guns here.
ਤੇਰੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ
ਇੱਥੇ ਘਟਣ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਬੰਦੇ
ਭਰਾਵਾ
ਤੀਜੇ ਦਿਨ ਬੰਦੇ ਘਟਣ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਣਗੇ
ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਹ ਦੂਜਾ ਕਰਨਾ
ਸੋ ਟੌਪ 10 ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਟੌਪ 10 ਕੇ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਗਾਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਪੁੱਛ ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛ ਰਿਹਾ
ਸੋ yeah I remember hold on ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੋਊਗਾ I think top 5 ਟੀਮਾਂ they're gonna go for finals ਕੁਛ ਐਂ ਜਿਹਾ ਸੀਨ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਯਾਰ
ਪੂਰਾ ਲਿਖਣਾ ਫਿਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਕਮਾਂਡ
hold on 40 ਟੀਮਾਂ ਨੇ 40 ਤੋਂ 20 ਗਾਂ ਜਾਣਗੀਆਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਪਤਾ ਮੁੱਕਾ ਸੋ 10 ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਜਾ ਵੜਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ
Zeta's division kind of hovering above them, quite literally flying past them at the moment, actually. Considering whether they should get involved, it looks like they're just going to be watching over this one for now. It's a very difficult team to actually take a fight against, is AG, so you've got to be careful with this approach. As now Zeta
ਬਾਕੀ bro finals ਦੇਖਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਡਾ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਉਹ ਆਣਾ ਫਾਰਮੈਟ bro ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਫਾਰਮੈਟ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸੋ ਇਹ ਕੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਇਹ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਆ ਮੈਚ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ 50 ਦਾ ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਟੀਮ ਦੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ 50 ਹੋ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਲੈਟਸ ਸੇ ਕਿ ਆਹ ਮੈਚ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੈਲਕਨ ਦੇ 50 ਹੋ ਗਏ
7.5 ਘੰਟੇ
ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਗਲਾ ਮੈਚ ਜਿੱਤਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਟੂਰਨਾਮੈਂਟ ਜਿੱਤਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ
ਹੁਣ ਲਿਆ ਦੂੰਗਾ ਮੈਂ
ਸੋ ਉਦਾਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਉਵੇਂ ਟੀਮਾਂ ਕੁਆਲੀਫਾਈ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ 50 ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਟੀਮ ਜਿੱਤ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ ਹੀ ਵਿਨਸ ਦਾ ਟੂਰਨਾਮੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੁਆਲੀਫਾਈ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਆ ਮੈਚ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਲਈ
Fantastic example of warning shots coming in there.
ਕਾ ਚਲ ਜ ਗਏ
What you can do with the massive when you've got a teammate alongside you who is hitting the shots. As we jump over to Shopify Rebellion now, a little bit of a different rotation center of the map. They do have a console and a survey beacon here to hit, so they're going to be able to get up pretty close to purple armors as well as getting that information. Looks like from there, of course, they'll be moving towards Pylon. Where Flat and Genji Esports find themselves at the moment for even more info, and then maybe looking to approach the zone a little bit later on.
Oh yeah, this one's odd, man. We gotta take this one out.
Legend as well in this lobby when you
Come on.
bans, you look at what's been happening in terms of where that's been going throughout scrims. It's been fairly normal.
It was fun. Middle of the road, man.
As we go into Storm Point, it does change the situation slightly, and Valkyrie's such an important legend to have, especially with zones like this, where a lot of the early real estate is going to have been taken, so you have to try and force your way in a little bit later.
Yeah, this is the difficult one for this kind of zone. I mean, Graceful was talking about it on the desk, saying, you know, E-District is great because there's so many playable spots. You can get into zone pretty comfortably if you are running some of the compositions that we could see here. But now with this composition and this zone and the change of map over to
there's a time bonus as well.
The fact we're going over to Dev Coast, some of these buildings are very, very shaky. Some of these buildings don't have roofs, for example, as you can see here. So arriving late, it's very, very difficult to do. You're going to be relying on that Gibraltar bubble when you land to get that one down and give yourself a little bit of safety.
Just checking in with some of the replays as well. I was talking about the poke battles. Well, sometimes you do get those knocks. Don't usually result in actually getting the full kill. Now, just going back to the importance of building up shields before you land as well. If you are one of those teams that's arriving late, one thing you can bank on is the teams that moved early may not be too high up on their shield economy. They may just be on blue, so you have to get up to purples.
Also, I did not get
so if you are going to land and take a fight, you at least get in
terms
of those shields. Of course, you do.
20 ਆਣਾ
ਨਹੀਂ ਰੀਸਟਾਰਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਮੈਂ ਰੀਸਟਾਰਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਨਾਲੇ ਚਾਂਸਸ ਹੈ bro ਉਹਦੇ 20% ਚਾਂਸ ਹੈ you not getting it right
but at least ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਮਿਲੂਗਾ
ਇੱਕ ਕਿਦਾਂ ਮਿਲੂਗਾ bro ਤੂੰ 20% ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਚਾਂਸ ਸੈੱਟ ਕਰਾਇਆ ਜੇ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੀ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਦੱਸ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਸੈੱਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ
ਮਿਨੀਮਮ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਮਿਨੀਮਮ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਮਿਲੇ ਹੀ ਮਿਲੇ
ਮਦਰਫਕਰ ਫਿਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੂਜੇ 20% ਐਡ ਚਾਂਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਹਤੋਂ ਐਡ ਕਰਾਇਆ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਫਿਰ
ਮੈਂ ਆਪਾਂ
10 ਦਾ ਪਾਇਆ ਸੀ
10 ਜੇ ਮਿਲਨੇ 10
bro you dumb as fuck bro
ਆਪਾਂ ਆਦੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਹੀ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਲਾਇਆ ਜੀ
Koiful for me is just one of those guys
who to
perform something magnificent when you
ਦੇਖ ਤੂੰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ 20% ਚਾਂਸ ਹੈ ਠੀਕ ਆ
ਇੱਕ ਤੋਂ 10 ਮਿਲਣਗੇ ਇਦਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਵੀ
ਇੱਕ ਤੋਂ 15
ਜਾਂ 15 ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦਾ
ਉਹਦੇ ਚਾਂਸ ਨੇ
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਸਹੀ ਹੈ ਫੇ ਕੋਈ ਚੱਕਰ ਨਹੀਂ
ਇੱਕ ਗਾਰੰਟੀਡ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਗਾਰੰਟੀਡ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ
ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹੀ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਗਾਰੰਟੀਡ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ ਐਟਲੀਸਟ
has to try and hold the push and they will be able to get Yanya back on his feet.
So basically
it's only momentary.
ਇੱਕ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਗਾਰੰਟੀਡ ਤੂੰ ਜੌਬ ਕੰਪਲੀਟ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਗਾਰੰਟੀਡ ਮਿਲਣੀ ਮਿਨੀਮਮ ਐਂਡ ਦੈਨ ਮੈਕਸਿਮਮ 1 ਤੋਂ 3 ਇੱਕ ਹੈਗਾ ਰੈਂਡਮ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਚੂਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਉਹਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਪਾਇਆ ਚਾਂਸ 20% ਉਹ ਰੈਂਡਮ ਮਿਲਣਾ
ਉਹ 100 ਕਰਦੇ
ਬਟ ਜੇ ਤੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਕਾਪਰ ਮਿਲੇ ਹੀ ਮਿਲੇ ਇੰਨਾ ਮਿਨੀਮਮ 1 to 15 ਐਵਰੀ ਜੌਬ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਦੱਸ ਫਿਰ
ਇੱਕ ਦੇ 15 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਚਾਲੇ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦਾ
ਨਹੀਂ ਨਗਰੇ
ਉਹ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਵੀ ਪਰਸੈਂਟੇਜ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ
ਓਏ ਹੋਲਡ ਔਨ ਲੈਗਸ ਮੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣ ਵੀਰੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੇਰੇ ਜਜ਼ਬਾਤ ਵੀ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਪਿਆ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਹੀ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਆ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਜੌਬ ਕੰਪਲੀਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਤੂੰ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਇੱਕ ਐਡੀਸ਼ਨਲ ਰੋਲ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਚਾਂਸ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਕਿ ਤੈਨੂੰ 15-20 ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਸਨੈਪੀ
I feel like guaranteed ਵਾਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਮਿਲੇ ਹੀ ਮਿਲੇ 7-8 ਜੋ ਵੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਚਾਲੇ ਜੇ ਰੈਂਡਮ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦਾ
ਹਾਂ 1 ਤੋਂ 15 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦਾ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਜੌਬ ਫਿਨਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਤੇ ਲਾਈਕ ਉਹ ਵੱਖਰਾ ਰੀਰੋਲ ਹੋਊਗਾ
ਫਿਰ ਇੱਕ ਤੇ ਚੱਲ ਸਹੀ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਗਾਰੰਟੀਡ ਕਰਤਾ ਮੈਂ ਤੇ same shit in locksmith as well right
ਹੁਣ ਫਿਰ ਰੀਸਟਾਰਟ ਮਾਰ ਲੈ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੇਖ ਲੈਣਾ ਬੈਠੇ
ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਸਕ੍ਰਿਪਟ ਹੀ ਮਾਰ
ਮੈਂ ਜੋ ਹਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਟੀਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਰੀ ਲਾਈਕ 20 ਟੀਮਸ ਆਰ ਲਾਈਵ
ਨਾਲੇ ਸੱਚ ਉਹ ਦੱਸ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮਨੀ ਦੱਸ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਸੈੱਟ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ
ਬਈ ਮਨੀ ਇੱਕ ਜੌਬ ਦੀ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੈ
ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ 1600 ਤੋਂ 2300 ਆ
Creeper with an unlimited ammo, bro. That's it. That's GG's.
Are they going to try and go for a wrap round as well?
100 to 400.
Behind Team Heretics.
Yeah, 100 to 400.
Great for Trinity. These were the teams we were talking about on that southern side.
ਬੁਚਰ ਦੀ ਜੌਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 1200 ਤੋਂ 1800 ਆ
ਨਹੀਂ ਘਟਾ ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਸੇਮ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੇਮ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਸ ਤਾਂ ਨਾ ਕਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਨਾਗਰੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣ bro it depends
ਦੂਜੇ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕ੍ਰਾਫਟਿੰਗ ਤੇ ਰੱਖਾਂਗੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਅੱਗੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਵਧੀ ਗਏ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਚੀਜ਼ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਲੱਸੇ ਸੀਵੀਡ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਸੀਗਾ ਰੋਏ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਆ ਉਹਦੀ ਰੱਸੀ ਕ੍ਰਾਫਟ ਕਰ ਲਓ ਔਰ ਰੱਸੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅੱਗੇ ਏਟੀਐਮ ਲੁੱਟ ਲਓ ਵੀ ਰੱਸੀ ਉਹ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਤੇ ਪਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਹੀ ਨਾ
ਹਾਂ ਇਹੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਯਾਰ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਜੋਬਾਂ 100 ਤੋਂ 400 ਕਰਤਾ ਹੈ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ
ਬਾਕੀ ਉਹਦਾ ਫਿਰ ਤੂੰ ਕਰੇਗਾ ਨਾ
ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਬਾਕੀ ਜੌਬਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੋਈ ਆਈਟਮ ਪਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਦੇ
ਓਕੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਿਰ ਇਹੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਆ ਗਈ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੁਣ ਗਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਵੇਖਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕਰਾਫਟਿੰਗ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਆ ਯੂ ਫੀਲ ਮੀ
ਕਸਟਮ ਵੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਬਣਾਉਣੀਆਂ ਪੈਣੀਆਂ ਨਾ
ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰੱਸੀ ਬਣਾਉਣੀ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਉਸ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਵੀ ਹਨਾ
ਹੁਣ ਮੰਨ ਲਾ ਕਿ ਰੱਸੀ ਬਣਾਉਣੀ ਆ ਰੱਸੀ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਆ ਹੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਲੈਟਸ ਸੇ ਫॉर ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਹਨਾ ਜਾਂ ਰੂਟ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਉਹ ਮੰਨ ਲਾ ਰੂਟ ਆ ਉਹ
ਵੱਡਾ ਵਰਕਿੰਗ ਚ ਮਿਲੂ
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਈਟਮ ਹੈ ਰੂਟ ਦੀ ਮੰਨ ਲਾ ਲਵੀ ਨੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਫੋਟੋ ਬਣਾਤੀ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਇਨਵੈਂਟਰੀ ਚ ਆਪਣੀ ਸ਼ੋ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਕੀ ਦੀ ਫੋਟੋ ਸ਼ੋ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਲਵੀ ਨੇ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਫੋਟੋ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਭੇਜਤੀ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕੀ ਤੂੰ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਇਦਾਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਵੀ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਓਕੇ ਰੂਟ ਕਰਾਫਟਿੰਗ ਟੇਬਲ 'ਚ ਜਾਊਗੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਐਨੀ ਹੇ ਲੱਗੇਗੀ ਤੇ ਹੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੂਗੀ ਫਾਰਮਿੰਗ
ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ
ਤੈਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਫੋਟੋ ਬਣਵਾ ਕੇ ਭੇਜੂਗਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਐਨ ਆਰਾਮ ਨਾਲ ਬਣਾਵਾਂਗੇ
ਫੋਟੋ ਤੇ ਆਈਟਮ ਨੇਮ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਬਸ ਹੋਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ
ਆਈਟਮ ਨੇਮ ਫੋਟੋ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਮਿਲਣੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਹਦਾ ਕੀ ਬਣੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਤੇ ਕਾਦੇ ਲਈ
ਯੈਸ
yeah we gotta connect the rope to the ATM
dots
every job
ਉਹੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੇ ਵਾਲਾ ਦੂਜੇ ਚ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਫਾਰਮਿੰਗ ਵਾਲੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਪਵੇ ਇਦਾਂ ਆ
ਯੈਸ
ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੈਮੀਕਲਸ ਜਾਂ ਡਰੱਗਸ ਵਾਲੇ ਉਹ ਇਹਦੇ ਚ ਕਲੀਨਰ ਵਾਲੇ ਚ ਵੀ ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਇਦਾਂ ਪੋਸਿਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਪਾ ਦਾਂਗੇ ਉਹ ਹੈਲੋ
Sooner rather than later, Team Heritage have now got amongst things, but they are very much struggling to stay up as Trinity do get eliminated as well.
ਦੇਖ ਲੋੜੇ
Guns a little defensive nade coming in there. The
front goes
down, the wall will also go down. Team
Heritage आ गया
But are they safe from the amount of damage that's coming in? And there is a fuse of breaching behind the Motherlode from Prestis is phenomenal. Takes down 2 and Heretics will be back into the lobby.
XP ਘਟਾਉਣੀ ਪੈਣੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਨਾ XP ਕੋਈ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਆ ਕਈਆਂ ਚ XP ਕਿੰਨੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ
ਇਹ XP ਇੱਕ ਜੌਬ ਕੰਪਲੀਟ ਹੋਈ ਦੀ
ਕਿੰਨੀ ਮਿਲੀ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ
ਹਾਂ
XP ਨਾ 5 ਤੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਜੌਬ ਤੇ 5 XP ਮਿਲੇ
ਬਟ XP ਵਧਣ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਕੀ ਆ ਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ
ਜੌਬਸ ਖੋਲਦੀਆਂ ਅੱਗੇ
ਨੰਬਰ
ਚੈੱਕ ਕਰਦਾ
ਯਾ ਸੋ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ ਨਗਰੇ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਬ్రో ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਜੌਬ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਖੋਲਦੇ ਪਏ ਆਪਾਂ ਨਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਫਿਰ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਵੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਖੋਲਣ ਦਾ
ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਐਕਚੁਅਲ ਚ ਮੇਜਰ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਆ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਰੋਪ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਉਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੰਬਰ ਜੈਕ ਚ ਪਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਜਿਆਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਦਈਏ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ੀਅਸ ਮੈਟਲ ਹੋਰ ਅੱਗੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਪੈਣੀ ਆ ਲਾਈਕ ਉਹ ਮਾਈਨਿੰਗ ਚ ਪਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਐਂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਨਾ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਦੇਖਣੀਆਂ ਪੈਣੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਕਰਾਫਟਿੰਗ ਚ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਮੈਟਲ ਦਾ ਆਪ ਬਣਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਥੋੜੇ ਜਿਹੇ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਕੀ ਤੋਂ ਕੀ ਬਣੇ
ਹਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਬਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾ ਲੈਣੀ
ਤਿਆਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਭੇਜਾਂਗੇ ਲਿਸਟ ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਇੱਕ ਦਿਨ ਚ
ਨਾਲੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿੰਨੀ XP ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਮਿਲਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਜੌਬ ਅਨਲੌਕ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਮਤਲਬ ਹਨਾ
ਇਹ ਵੀ ਇੰਨੀ ਮਿਲਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਬਟ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ XP ਗੇਨ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਉਹ 5 ਕਰਦੇ
ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ
ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਆ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਲੱਸ XP ਲਿਖੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਇੱਥੇ
ਇਹ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ
XP ਟੂ ਨੈਕਸਟ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਦੂਜੀ ਕਰਦੇ 10 ਕਰਦੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ 5 ਜਾਂ 10 ਟਾਈਮ ਤਾਂ ਲੱਗੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਆਉਣ ਨੂੰ
ਤਾਂ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ ਪਰ ਲੈਵਲ 1000 ਆ
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ
ਮੈਕਸਿਮਮ ਪਰ ਜੌਬ ਲੈਵਲ ਹੈਗੀ 10
ਹਾਂ ਬਸ ਮੈਕਸਿਮਮ ਜੌਬ ਤੇ 10 XP ਮਿਲੇ ਬਸ
ਤੇ ਤੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਪਲੱਸ 10 ਮਿਲਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ
ਹਾਂ
VP are just trying to hold. They're the team that are
So if you want to have 1,000 points, you need to do 100 jobs.
Genji all sharing these buildings. You can see on the map overhead here.
Yep.
ਸਹੀ ਕਰਵਾਣੀ ਤੋਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਤੋਂ
Who are going to have to force their way in. They've already lost one. It's not looking good for Genji here.
Yeah, I'm good
यार
with
जेडे
that.
ग्राइंड करना ना उन्हें फिर ग्राइंड ही करी जाना घट्टो घट्ट बंदा सर्वर च रह के दूसरे बंदे ਨਾਲ इंटरैक्ट तो करूगा
ठीक है ब्रो वो बिल्ला में
ਸਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਐਂਡੀ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੇਤਾ ਪਿਛਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਇੱਕ ਇਹ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ
ਉਹ ਜੇ ਸਾਲਿਆ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਫੈਨ ਚ ਸਾਲਾ ਕਹੇ ਹੀਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੈਟ ਭਰੀ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਮੈਚ ਪੈਸਾ ਆ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮੈਚ ਚ ਇੰਨਾ
Nitro pack goes down, which allows AJ to just about pop that battery, but I stand corrected. As he will be taken down as VP continue to hold. Those are the frustrating ones when you are so close.
I'm restarting the script again. Bye bye.
Zone does fully close in. All these teams now are starting to be forced left, right, and center. Ammo is
Hello,
not looking
job
good
center.
for these teams as Wolves Esports do get eliminated. And then more Kramer shots coming in for Wolves. No name will be.
ਲੋਡ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੋਣੀ ਹੈ
Pull the trigger a few more times, but look at Genji by the way.
ਟਾਈਮ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਵੀਰ
Live ability, the cockroaches in the lobby, they will not go down here. They hit the Nitro gate. Dory out next. As 10 squads now remain, half the lobby's gone.
What the fuck did the Gen survived?
Short amount of time as well. There's going to be left before this next zone goes in.
Check करिए on.
GG do get removed from the south. Huge fight just won by JDG. Another top 10 for GG though. There's going to be more points for them as finally Genji Esports up on that high ground will be taken down.
ਮੈਂ ਭੈਣ ਚੋ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਜਾਣਾ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਅਲਾਰਮ ਲਾ ਲਈਏ
On that rock. Just weren't able to reset one more time. VP, you mentioned this building was going to be the safest for the longest. Well, they're using it to their advantage here as Taskmaster with this 30-30 is doing damage to Shopify Rebellion.
ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਕਹਿ ਦੇ ਭੇਜ ਦੇ ਦੂਜਾ ਪੀਡੀਐਮ ਪਵਾ ਲਈਏ ਤੇ ਤੋਂ ਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਕੀ ਪਾਉਣਾ ਸੀ
Shopify do go down as well. Didn't even have to send it.
ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਫੇਰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਦੋਂ ਦਾ ਲੱਗੇਗਾ
So effectively then now they begin to move.
ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਕਰ ਸ਼ਨੀ ਇਹਦਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਦਾ ਲੱਗਣਾ
ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੋ ਦਿਨ ਨਹੀਂ
ਦੂਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਹੁਤਾ
Oh! Oh the fuck is this still so...
But not contacting Witsuki the way that he wants to. Finally, say individual will be down as we're into our top 5 and for fun from the high ground. Continue.
ਹੁਣ ਖੁਸ਼ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕਾਰ ਕੀ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਪਈ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਕੀ ਉਹਦੀ
ਯੈਸ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ
They are far more comfortable here on Storm Point as now zone begins to close. TIE arguably one of the best spots alongside Virtus Pro. On the west though, Zeddy versus 4Fun, that's going to change a lot of it because 4Fun have the high ground. In theory, they can win. Back on a jelly cam. Let's see if the cam matches the name and he's shaky or if he's still when it comes to hitting these big shots. Elsewhere, JDG
ਮੈਰਿਜ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ
out of the lobby. VP take care of them. TIE, they're going to sweep in behind as
ਮੈਰਿਜ ਕਰਨਾ ਸੀ
takes down one as Zeddy they make their move up to the heights.
I think it was 2-7-4-3-4 4-3-4 see 4-3-4 yeah middle one
TIE, Zeddy, final circle. Jelly got an armor swap at just the right time here.
ਉਹ ਤੂੰ ਭੈਣ ਚੋਂ ਵੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਹੈ
3v2, the bubble goes down, and it's time for Zeddy to try and send it to call themselves the champion by taking down the final players. One has fallen, that's going to be Jelly, dragged back to his feet by the Newcastle.
ਪੇੜਾ ਪੈ ਜੇ
They deserved that one because there was aggressive position they took away from 4-1.
ਚਲੋ ਕਸਟਮਰ ਨੂੰ ਮੜਿਆ ਡਿਲੀਵਰੀ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ
See the kill feed going on. They knew they had the advantage going into that final engagement.
Customer satisfied.
ਤੇਰਾ ਬੈਰੇ ਬੇੜਾ
What? And Zeddy who are playing kind of
ਮਤਲਬ ਇੱਕ ਤੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਨਾ ਇੱਕ ਤੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਗੈਰ
for quite some time in the end game for fun. They did a great job by getting
ਬਾਈ
into
ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰਾ ਹੈ ਯਾਰ ਐਂਡ ਦੈਟ ਸ਼ਿਟ ਵਾਸ
wonderful. But in the end,
ਇਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਲ ਪੱਕੀਆਂ ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਲੇ ਹੁਣ ਕੇ
ਆਇਆ ਕਰੀ
ਹਾਂ ਪੱਕੀ ਦੀ ਉਮੀਦ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਭਰਨਾ ਹੈਗਾ
and it does just take so much pressure.
ਵਾਈ ਸੀਰੀਜ਼ ਆਪਣਾ ਫੋਨ ਵੀ ਪੱਕਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ
Get that win on the board as well.
Nice.
You know you are playing at your very best as well. Frustrating for some of the teams. There's those hand-in head moments, hand-on head moments. What could have been had we moved around, had we not dropped the player in that situation, and I hit a massive shot. Had we not taken that much damage, had I hit a Kraber shot.
ਬਾਕੀ ਬਾਬਾ ਭਲੀ ਕਰੇ ਜੇ ਕੁਝ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਨਾ
Some of the highlights. I love the
6 ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਭੈਣ ਚੋ GTSX ਦਾ ਸਰਵਰ ਵਾਲਾ ਸੀਨ ਜਿਹਾ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਕੋਈ
ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਆਉਣਾ ਹੀ ਆ ਬਟ ਪੀਸੀ ਤੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਤਾਂ 2 ਸਾਲ ਆ ਜਾਣੇ ਆ
ਯਾ ਪਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਚੱਲ ਲਾਈਕ ਵੀ ਨਾਟ ਫਾਈਟ ਕੁੱਕ
ਉਹ ਯਾਰ ਕੱਲ ਕਿਹਨੇ ਦੇਖਿਆ
ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਕਰੋ ਮਾੜਾ ਮੋਟਾ ਸੁਪਨੇ ਦਾ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਵੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਬਹਿਣਾ
Once again, Zeddy proving they are here to play at the Split 1 playoffs at EWC.
I think going through these first couple of days, it is going to be a question of, you know, who is going to be up to the task? Who is going to show that they can actually roll with the big dogs? And any wins on the board will raise eyebrows in a good way. Both of them, not just a single one. Double eyebrow. A double eyebrow raise.
ऐसा ना करे तू लॉक पिक नहीं देखिया गड्डी दा
Kind of thing on day 1.
ਚੱਲੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਉਦੋਂ
I'm ready for the dates.
ਬਾ ਹੁਣ ਦੇਖੀ
Love that from you. And I think that all the players would have been looking at that final circle saying, actually, transitioned a little bit differently on the southwest side in particular. There was vulnerable teams on that side. A lot of people just commit to Valkyrie because you're scared. You don't really know what's ahead of them. Yeah, so you're going to use it, right?
Shot.
I think it's an interesting zone for that.
You kick yourself afterwards, but it's always a hindsight situation.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I think it's one of the zones where composition certainly played into that a little bit. A lot of teams had a very similar plan on how they were going to approach it. And you're quite right. The one team I think who had a slightly different way of approaching it was TIE on that southwest side, who kind of wrapped the rest of the lobby and let all of those Valcolts happen in front of them, and then were able to swoop in as and when they needed to. But it's actually the Valkyrie, surprise, surprise, who made the difference in the end game as well, being able to jet up to that top of that rock, the armor swap that came in, making sure that they were all healthy as well, which is very important going into that final fight. But TIE very, very calculated on the way that they played that game. By the way, JDG into the top 5 as well. Very good game for them, who have secretly and quietly been going about their business as well, picking up a couple of points in these first 4 games. But as we move over to game 5, you still have 3 games remaining, don't you, in a set here in A versus B. And with only 2 remaining, finite amount of points for these teams to collect before they think about playing again tomorrow.
The win for Zeddy puts them into second place, just behind Team Falcons as well. But it's getting pretty tight between those top 3. Falcons, Zeddy, and Gaming Gladiators are clear leaders. But who's actually going to be able to take that initiative going into 5 and 6?
Wait, check the link on up here.
Have Valkyrie. So for everything we're talking about, you know, the height advantage you're able to gain, being able to force your way into
the chances
circle, changes everything now.
Yes, the link on up here. तो की मैं सारा थल्ले जितना उन्हें पाया.
It does change compensation.
सही है कोई नहीं फिर
significantly.
It certainly does. We're going to have to see.
कितने मिले तनु एक मिले
एक मिले वो तो लिखा पे 20% chances है कि तुम 10 मिनट
बस सही है
to be banned. Maybe a little bit of Pathfinder, maybe a little bit of Catalyst, a bit of Wraithwing as well. Bangalore maybe as well. Maybe we'll see Caustic come back into the compositions as well, which may increase the pick rate of Bangalore as a counter. All these things to be considered by the teams and, of course, the coaches who have stood behind them as well. So many lovely moving pieces, Dan, go into these decisions. I'm glad that I don't have to make them.
We've still got plenty of Alter as well. Alter still hasn't been banned, so could come back into the fray.
So there is advanced
lock, but she's more prevalent on E-District, but if those are more comfortable on that legend, then there is always that choice as well. Sometimes, or back in the day, Alter would have just been gone so early on, but now lasts a little bit longer into these series.
आज होटल होना वो गड्डियां दे ही दूजियां दे.
You know, by the way, the Wolves who walked into the hairdressers with a picture of me and just said, "I want that." Did it work?
चलिए नहीं मेरा
Nothing happened.
Absolutely no
effort.
Did it work? Do you think he looks like you?
I think I'm one of them.
Wait,
I'm honest with you. I think he's doing his best impression though.
It's funny because Koiful went in and said he wants a Dan Gaskin haircut as well, so you know it's good. I'm glad that
whoever that barber is, I'll find him.
Yeah, can now.
But I'm excited for match 5.
Try getting in
it's going to
first.
tell us a lot about the top 3 in particular. Everyone else is starting to.
This vehicle is already unlocked
behind now, and it would take a significant victory from some of these squads to be able to catch up. The closest being Wolves, but of course,
okay.
Their own victory indeed. Is
how do I do this?
Damage dealers throughout the lobby so far. Wolves have been outputting a lot of damage, it has to be said.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not the best for them, but when you recognize that they are usually playing hard zone, not surprising. You know, you're holding down a spot more.
Yeah, that's fucked.
You are looking to.
Oh yeah, that. Oh my. Oh no.
Elimination's not
And that was so kagar.
Yeah, kita.
Something
ਭਰਾਵਾ ਮਾਰਨੇ ਬੰਦੇ
because of course, you know, after the group stage is done, we are going to be sending some teams home. So the teams that are at the bottom,
ਹੁਣ ਜਣਾ ਖਾਣਾ ਥੋੜੀ ਗੱਡੀ ਚੋਰੀ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਊਗਾ
even though it's only one group that's been done so far.
Yeah, but let's make it a bit easy.
Look at those total points overall.
के ही खर्चा
एडवांस लॉक पिक पे थोड़ा वो होना
Gone in the tournament so far. If you're down at the bottom right now, you're probably starting to think we need to pick
Oh my
the pace up here
fucking
with just
god.
2 games remaining in this set. Otherwise,
नहीं करदा का देना पिया ताड़ा
thinking about spending a bit more time in Paris.
WS ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਪੇਸ ਨਾਲ ਜਿੱਤ ਕਰਦਾ ਪਿਆ
bruh and you still feel that that's hard
the survival stage.
एडवांस लॉक
If it's only a few teams from the groups, it's not too bad. But suddenly, as you say, if you are down right
normal use करी
a little bit more nervy, and a win here, some points here in these groups would be absolutely massive for your chances. And again, just to ease the nerves, similarly to what I was saying previously about Zeddy as well. Now it will just allow them to relax.
Oh my fucking god, bro, this guy.
That victory, that shows how close it was previously.
Of course, that's what they're playing for there, that beautiful trophy that is on the stage. Of course, the key of the winning team will be going into that
yeah, this is fine.
सही है भाई broski
I'm getting way ahead of myself.
अंदर जाके फेल लगे अंदर जाके फेल लगे
A long way to go, of course.
चलो
VK Gaming. They're going to be here as well, defending their crown a little bit later on, not in this lobby, but they will be playing a little bit later today. As we just wander our way through. Awesome people, by the way. People
देख के करते हो दूजा अंदर रहने दे
best fans in the world. Shout out to you.
कितना वीर से करवा देंगे
How dare they work on the weekdays?
That's just way too fast, man.
They should have been booked off months in advance.
अब यहाँ शुरू कर देना फिर उन्होंने
Looks like we're almost ready to get into our next game here. Thank you for bearing with us, everybody. Match 4 is done, and it's time for
any day, man. Nagare any day.
here on Stormboy.
And with Valkyrie now gone and banned,
oh my god,
very different, and I do think we're going to see the biggest legend selection and
disparity
we've
ਉਹਨੂੰ
had
ਕਰਦੇ
so far
ਦੋ
in this series. I can already see across my screen we've got Sparrow that's come in now. We've got
ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਥੋੜਾ ਔਖਾ ਕਰ ਦਾਂਗੇ ਤੇਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਹੈ
ਦੋ ਪੰਜ ਯੋ take this shit out, man.
But the majority seem to have teetered towards Wraith as their primary rotation legend.
Yeah, looks like Gibraltar.
ਮੇਰੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਸਾਹ ਨਾਲ ਬਾਹਰ ਦਾ ਹੀ ਸਹੀ ਹੈ ਅੰਦਰ ਲੋਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ
ਮੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣ ਜਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ 1 2 3 4 ਵਾਲਾ ਅੰਦਰ
notify owner
Speaking of which, an interesting one for everybody to watch here. It's looking like it's going to be down south of Sito, maybe out towards.
Okay, so basically vehicle class the difficulty ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਆ hard easy medium. So ਮਤਲਬ ਜੇ ਤੂੰ ਗੱਡੀ ਕੋਈ ਸਸਤੀ ਜੀ ਲਊਂਗਾ ਉਹ easy ਆ.
The damage output they've had so far, but not necessarily the conversion from it. I'm not sure they have a ring console though, so they may not be aware of it.
Like if you ਹੁਣ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਡੀ ਹੋਊ ਸਸਤੀ ਕੋਈ ਹੈ ਨਾ
Relove for fun have all moved.
Yeah, this.
Have also got a ring console down towards Barometer as well. It's
honestly
damage difference. JD
ਉਹਨੂੰ ਘਟਾ ਦੇ ਨਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਸਤੇ ਕਿਥੋਂ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਯਾਰ
Indeed, and looking at other teams that might have an option to hit a quick rotate here.
Oh yeah, they got it.
Yeah, it's easy. Oh, ਉੱਤੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਗਿਆ easy.
To find their way in towards zone. We'll have to see what other teams are going to be able to make their way in though.
That we will indeed, and you know, Shopify Rebellion, I don't even think they would mind this circle they're going to get. They're going to be able to hit that down towards Sanote and move pretty quickly.
Yeah, this shit is easy.
Yeah, that's fine then. That's fine.
Yeah, yo, I like this.
Yeah.
We get it checked. ये तो थोड़ा जोर ला जे
At the moment, of course, where we saw things out for the players on the stage. But it of course allows us.
पर फिर अपन वो भी करनी पड़नी है
Okay, bro. I am satisfied now with the server.
वो पहला शो नु क्या बैंक वाले चलाने जोगे तो ये कल बैंक तो मैंने कहता चला मैं
And it gives an opportunity, maybe if you're tuning into Apex Legends for the first time here, if you're wondering.
ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਾਰਤਿਕ ਕਦੋਂ ਦਾ
बैंक ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਪੀਡੀਐਮ ਬਈ ਇੱਕ बैंक ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਪੀਡੀਐਮ ਦੋ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਰਹਿ ਗਈਆਂ ਬਸ ਲੋਕੀ ਬੈਟਾ 1.1 ਕਰਦੇ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਬੈਟਾ 2.0 ਕੱਢਣਾ
Ring console is very important. That's going to give you the information where that next zone is going to be going. So when you see
ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਬਦਲ ਜਾਣਾ ਫੈਨ ਚੋਂ ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਗੱਲ ਆਵੇ
best example of it, JD Gaming down the southern side of Barometer. They hit that, they're going to know where the console is going to be taking the teams and where that zone is going to be going. So if you've got that, good news. And it looks like also better news, Dan. Looks like the pause is finished.
We love quick pauses and making sure that everything is going to be right on the stage for these teams. By the way, Trinity, another team that moved early previously, are going to try and take one of these prio positions as well. But they may have Sometimes it is a bit of a gamble.
ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਘੰਟਾ 1.5 ਘੰਟਾ
Kind of wait and bide your time. But if you do,
get caught out on your rotation as well.
Genji, I'm sending you all of my energy. I believe in this game at number 5. They're going to be over at Echo HQ
But I am
right
so
now,
happy with our decision
to
go a different way.
Potentially they could go through Pylon, but Coastal can probably.
भैया lock pick वाला system से ये क्या है?
Juicy looking option for them as they're going to have
P scripts वाले दा free चा आया है.
Damn, that shit was free.
Also, I'm seeing a vantage. Zicky's on vantage.
That guy's cooking, man.
Didn't think I'd see that in a game 4.
Sleep deprivation does make you do some crazy things sometimes with your legend selection. Did they actually mean to? That's always the thing. I'm looking forward to see how they compete when they have had a good night's rest. Of course, only arriving today into Paris. But I'm just thankful that they are here and they are able to compete. Speaking of competing, there's a lot of competition for position at the moment. And PXX are able to get into one of these buildings and avoid the gunfire as they approached.
Yeah, difficult to hold these ones down though. The good news is there's not too many fuses in the lobby and there's no sears due to the ban a little bit earlier on. So it's a little bit more comfortable to hold down. The likes of Watson are going to be more influential and more powerful with the lack of counters that are available of legends that are going to be run by other teams. So if you can get into a spot early here, actually pretty good chance that you're going to be able to hold it down for the longer game. On Limit, they're going to be running Axel still, so they have an option to be aggressive. JDG also still relying on Axel, as are Team Heretic. So outside of those teams, though, you're looking at Wraith and Kidnaps as being the only option to kind of unsettle one of those teams who's bunkered down.
And we are going to see more teams start to run slightly more aggressive compositions as well as we get towards the end of this series and this set. You want to be able to put points on the board, and as Mark was alluding to, if you are fully
engine Y ਦੇ ਨਾਲ start ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ
come that elimination part
ਤੇ lock ਕਾਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੱਗਦਾ L ਨਾ
you don't want to be sent
U ਨਾ
that early on in the competition.
ये नहीं देखा हम दे रहे हैं.
Balls up on this high ground of Zito Station. You mentioned that they were dropping over here. They're going to have the ability to play this overarching height for quite some time. It's going to be an interesting.
Bro, people are going to go crazy for farming in this.
See an attempt at a kidnap coming in for Wolves. They saw the Wraith just jumping down from the high ground to see if they can pick up a KP and steal away a player. Falcons, a little bit of a different rotation. Team Heretics now. That longbow is going to be singing a song that doesn't sound good for Falcons, and certainly not for Imperial Howl.
Looks like Howard's been able to get out of that sight line though, so they should be able to stabilize. They're just going to have to reconsider their approach of how they want to move from this position. And I'm not sure they even know where they're getting shot from at the moment. They're kind of just scouting around, and now finally they do get eyes on. That will allow them to assess the situation far better. Now, you might disagree with me here, Mark, but I just think I would rather be one of these teams who is approaching from the edge. I would be frustrated if I was a team like Wolves and the zone has come my way. Wolves are one of those incredible fighting teams that maybe they want to just get out of that system in the early stages of the game, be able to build up that economy on their shields, and then move in and engage more a little bit later. But of course, they are well practiced for when the zone does come their way as well.
I think Wolves being up on the high ground is not too bad a thing for them because they're
with the rake trailer.
So that's not going to be too much concern. And the fact
Green
that it's
trailer.
Overarching height here at Zito Station, and they have the Newcastle as well to get that wall down. They're going to be able to do a lot of height damage. It was interesting to highlight though, just on
Why did I get a...
I think Sparrow is actually going to be a pretty good pick as an aggressive character in this lobby. Think about flushing those Newcastle teams out, those Watson teams out. Use that bolt to unsettle some of those teams that are going to be sitting inside of those buildings.
Yeah, and I do wonder whether, utilizing that alongside Alter, for example, Team Heretics running Sparrow, Alter, and Axel, that is as aggressive as it gets, really. Not only can you get into the action very quickly, but you have multiple ways to get out of said action at the same time. So expect Heretics to be taking a couple of fights here or there. They're going to be on the eastern side of the map at the moment. They're going to be one of the late arrivals. The same could be said for Zeta Division, who are here on the north, and they're going to be hitting the survey beacon to get a little bit more of a lay of the land here and see who's going to be ahead of them in terms of player.
I know someone's close. 3 enemies were scanned within the vicinity of that survey beacon. It's going to be Zeddy Esports who are closest over at Checkpoint. Speaking of Checkpoint, by the way, Shopify Rebellion have just arrived. So there will still be three players close to Zeta, but it's not going to be Zeddy. It's actually going to be Shopify who are kind of counter-rotated where Zeddy were and taken their spot away.
And the thing is, Zeta will know no different. They just know there are enemies in the vicinity, and Shopify Rebellion are going to now be the team they are focusing on. They just wouldn't know it was a different squad beforehand. The thing is, Shopify Rebellion may not know they were scanned, because they weren't. It was a different team. So Shopify Rebellion may be unaware of Zeta's position here. But they've, of course, come up north to get some information themselves, as well as upgrade some guns, and, of course, hit that harvester.
Yeah, this is fun, bro.
Survey beacon for them to play with. That's where the zone's going to be going, and you can already see. I mean, pretty much any playable spot that is a building has gone. JDG down on that side.
Watch, you can see the fucking points.
For them. Probably thinking about pushing in towards the waterfall for the late game. Maybe
map
for that high ground. But I'm interested to see where the zone actually pulls after this one. If it's going to continue in closer towards Cito up onto that hillside and the waterfall area instead down on that southern side. So where these teams are split at the moment, you can see a lot of teams are kind of hedging their bets a little bit. It's safer to play in the buildings of Cito. But if you take that risk down on the other side and it pulls your way, you can have such a clear walk in.
And of course, these teams still don't know. JD Gaming don't know it's pulled a little bit further up north yet. They only have the initial zone information they were able to gather. So when that zone does come in, perhaps we'll start to see them move a little bit further north. An interesting engagement could be happening here on the southeast side of the map. Genji and Unlimit very close to one another. And Genji...
So he's
got to be careful here. Unlimit versus Genji, two of the most aggressive teams as the bow check.
सीट लेके आया और नहीं स्टेप पाड़ा था व्हीकल सीट बाय हैंड
to at least have to expel the bang armor here through the skies. Goes one player.
Vinagre, can you open /HUD settings?
So at least scare off members of Genji. Not seen Gibby move like that in quite some years. Taking him back, his hips don't lie.
Okay, ਇਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਐਦਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਸੇਵ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਨਫੋਰਸ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰੇ ਸਰਵਰ ਲਈ
allowed shots to come in, and that is the signal now for the rest of Unlimit to push. Ziki is still on his back.
You've got to hold aggressively here. I like this from Major as well. Utilize that prowler to do some damage. We get a knock, it could be big.
It's a trade. Dexter's now on his own, running through zone. Gibby can move. We know
status icon.
Recent patches that boy can move, and he's going to be able to escape for now.
नहीं आ गया
Over to Flat versus Shopify Rebellion, however, this fight is taking place elsewhere. This is the barometer side of the map, just outside of Mill, excuse me.
कोई ना ये बाद च देखेंगे जरूरी नहीं है यार
Shopify will be able to get a wall down here just outside of the zone, but they've got Zeta Division looking at them from inside of
कर ला जो कर दोगे
Shopify.
Yeah, if Shopify lose one player, it's going to be curtains for them because Zeta are going to take full advantage of it.
नहीं जॉब ही करता है ब्रो इधर बहुत टाइम लगना जॉब करना
yeah so ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਤਲਬ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲਾਈਕ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਨਾ yeah who ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਫਾਰਮਿੰਗ ਯਾਰ ਨਹੀਂ 500 ਕਰ 500 ਤੋਂ 800
ਟੈਸਟ ਕਰੋ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਜੌਬਸ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਜੌਬਸ ਟੈਸਟ ਕਰੋ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸੋ मैं खा भी गया ना जरूर
just the 5 points at the moment for Zeta, a team that we know can be very aggressive and win a lot of interesting fights on their side, but a slow start to the tournament could all change here in match 5. Storm Point we know is more comfortable from them.
बाकी हैं जॉब्स के लिए तो दूसरे ही है ना already like 400 तक है
yeah
like ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਟਾਈਮ ਕੰਜ਼ਿਊਮਿੰਗ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਹੈ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਹੋਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ
and you know what ਇਵੈਂਟ ਹੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਬੌਂਡਾ ਮਾਰ ਮੈਂ
ਕਿਉਂ ਮਜ਼ਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ
ਮਜ਼ਾ ਤਾਂ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਮੈਂ ਚੱਲ ਤੇਰੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਥੋੜੀ ਜੀ
ਨਾ ਲੈ ਚੌਕੇ ਤੂੰ ਦੇਖ ਬ్రో ਕੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਯਾਰ
what the fuck oh ਮੈਂ ਚਦਰ ਸਰਵਰ ਚ ਵੜ ਗਏ like stream the server and shit
ਤੂੰ stream end ਕਰਤੀ
ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਫਿਰ stream ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ
ਬੈਠਾ ਰਹਿ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ
ਉਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੁਣ ਕਰਦੇ ਪਏ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਯਾਰ ਤੇ like they have the feature but like that feature's not helping me anyway you know ਚਾਹੇ ਮੈਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕੋਸਟਿਊਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਪਿਆ Don't stream yet, ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਪਏ ਨਾ
ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉਹ ਦੇਖੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਇੰਨੇ ਟਾਈਮ ਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਸਪੈਸਿਫਿਕ ਟੀਮ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ ਖੋਲ ਕੇ ਦੇਖੀ
ਅੱਛਾ ਭੈਣ ਚੋ ਤੂੰ ਯਾਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਖੇਡਦੇ ਪਏ ਬਈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਭੈਣ ਜੋ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਮੈਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰਾ ਦੂਜਾ ਮੈਚ ਬੜਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਇਹ
ਬ్రో ਦੂਜਾ ਮੈਚ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਬਚ ਗਏ ਇਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਨੇ
ਆਹੋ ਜੋ ਥੱਲੇ ਗਏ ਬ੍ਰਿਜ ਤੇ
ਮਰਦੇ ਮਰਦੇ ਬਚੇ ਨੇ
ਕਿਹੜੇ ਹਾਲ ਭੈਣ ਦਾ ਹਜੇ ਤੂੰ ਬ్రో ਚਾਹੇ ਤਾਂ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹਨੇ ਚੀਨੇ ਦੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਯਕੀਨ 8:30 ਵਜੇ ਆਉਣਗੇ ਉਹ ਕੱਢਦੇ ਸੱਪ ਭੈਣ ਚੋ ਸੋਲ ਵੀ ਆਊਗੀ 8:30
ਉਹਦਾ ਸੋਲ ਸਿੱਟ ਦਾ ਰੌਲਾ ਪਈ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਨੂੰ ਗਾਲਾਂ ਕੱਢੀ ਉਹ
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਪਾਂਸਰ ਕੈਂਪ ਸੋਲ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਦਾ
ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ
For fun now, move into that water spot. Now this is an interesting one, Dan, because this kind of a spot towards the end game can be very
ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ ਸਮਝਦੀ ਭੈਣ ਜੋ ਬੀਇੰਗ ਐਨ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਔਰਕ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਭੈਣ ਜੋ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਲਾਈਕ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਪ੍ਰੈਫਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਪਏ ਆ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਗੇ ਹੁਣ ਦੂਜਾ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਨਾ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜਾ ENC ਹੋਣਾ ਆ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਵਰਲਡ ਕੱਪ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਵੇਂ ਫੁੱਟਬਾਲ ਦਾ ਉਵੇਂ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਕੰਟਰੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਆਉਣਗੇ ਕੰਟਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਪਲੇਅਰ
ਯਾਰ ਇਹ ਸਟ੍ਰੀਮ ਲੈ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ
ਕਿਹਦੀ
ਆਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਟੀਮ ਵਾਲੀ ਆ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੀ ਨਹੀਂ
ਨਹੀਂ ਤੂੰ ਉੱਧਰ ਜਾਣਾ ਨਾ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਟਵਿਚ ਤੇ ਵੇਖ ਲਾ ਜਾਂ YouTube ਤੇ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਵੇਖ ਲਾ
ਟਵਿਚ ਤੇ ਦੇਖ ਰਿਹਾ ਮੈਂ ਟਵਿਚ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ
ਪਲੇ ਐਪੈਕਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਲੇ ਐਪੈਕਸ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਪਲੇ ਐਪੈਕਸ
ਉਹ ਪਲੇ ਐਪੈਕਸ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਸਮਝ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ
ਅੱਛਾ ਫਿਰ YouTube ਤੇ ਵੇਖ ਲਾ YouTube ਤੇ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਖੋਲ ਲਾ
ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਟੀਮ ਵਾਲੇ ਤੇ ਹੁੰਦਾ
ਨਹੀਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਹੋ
ਕਿ ਮਾੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ
ਉਹ ਨਾਲੇ ਵੈਸੇ ਯਾਰ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਪੈਸੇ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਚ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਸੌਖੀਆਂ ਹੋ ਜਾਣੀਆਂ ਸੋ ਫਾਰਮਿੰਗ ਸ਼ੁੱਡ ਬੀ ਲਾਈਕ 600 ਨਾਟ 1000 ਯਾਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਗੱਲ ਐਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਵੰਡ ਵੀ ਹੋਣੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਵੰਡ ਵੀ ਹੋਣੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਦੇਖ ਕੱਲ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਚ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੇਖਾਂਗੇ ਕੀ ਬਣਦਾ ਭਰ ਲਾ ਭਰਾਵਾ ਸਵੇਰ ਨੂੰ ਖੇਡਾਂਗੇ ਨੋਟਸ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਬਣਾਵਾਂਗੇ
ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਭਰਾਵਾ ਮੈਚ ਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਤੇ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦਾ ਬਾਪੂ ਭਾਗ ਗਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਚ ਵੇਖਣ ਨਾਲ ਲਾਣਾ ਥਾ
On the southern side, JD Gaming and Team Falcons as we're also checking in on the southwest with Zeta Division. Again, still looking up towards
10 ਵਜੇ ਆ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਭੈਣ ਜੋ 12:30 ਵਜੇ ਮੁੱਕਣੇ
approach to zone, but it's about whether you can win that engagement and then survive into zone. Trinity just been eliminated. A tough rotate actually now for Zeta. They may have left it a little bit long. A long way to go. On limit now, try and collapse onto Shopify.
Sunday ਤੱਕ ਆ ਭੈਣ
ਆਪ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਹੀ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਅੱਜ 15 ਮਿੰਟ ਵਾਲਾ
ਹਾਂ ਸੇ ਦੇਖੀ ਹੋ ਜੇ ਕੋਣ
ਕੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਾਕੀ ਦੋ
ਆਉਣੀ ਕਦੋਂ
ਦੋ ਸਾਲ ਤਾਂ ਲਾਈ ਦੇਣਗੇ
ਬਾਕੀ ਮੈਂ ਅੱਜ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਨੋ ਪਿਕਸਲ ਆ ਸਰਵਰ ਆ ਨੋ ਪਿਕਸਲ ਸਟ੍ਰੀਮ ਤੇ ਹੋਊਗਾ
ਯਾਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਸੀਗੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੋਏ ਬਈ ਸੱਦੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ 5M ਆਹ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਰ ਆਪਦੇ ਲਾਈਕ ਕੋਣਾ ਇੰਟੀਗ੍ਰੇਟ ਕਰਨਗੇ 5M
ਕਰਨਗੇ
ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਖਰੀਦ ਲਿਆ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਰੌਕਸਟਾਰ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਇਹ 5M
ये वाटर एंड फर्टिलाइजर लेफ्ट माउस
रॉकस्टार ने अब जनरल कर लिया
ਪੈਦਰ ਪਤਾ ਮੈਸਟਰੀ ਬੜੀ ਵਧੀਆ
ਸਾਡੇ
ਕੀ ਮੈਸਟਰੀ ਬੜੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਪਰਮਨ
ਹਾਂ ਉਹ ਨੌਕ ਕਰੇ
ਨੌਕ ਤੇ ਸ਼ਿਲਡ ਜੱਟ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ
ਨਾ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪੀਸ ਕੀਪਰ ਦੇ
ਪੀਸ ਕੀਪਰ ਤਾਂ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਬਣੀ ਹੈ
ਨਹੀਂ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਐਗਜ਼ੀਕਿਊਸ਼ਨਰ ਉਹ ਹੈ
This engagement is still happening, by the way, between Shopify, Unlimit, PXX, all of them fighting tooth and nail at the moment. Unlimit down just as Peace as Falcons get eliminated from the lobby in 14th. By the way, Peace, kill leader right now, but will be wiped eventually. A valiant effort as now all gamers global say
in
this zone using the Pathfinder zipline to do so. So they were just trying to clear this side of zone. Shopify Rebellion down to 2 for now. AG decide the building is more important, and you can see why from the top left-hand side of your screen. It is safe. It is one of the only places that will be, as PXX now moving
ਭੈਣ ਜੋ ਵਧੀਆ ਰਿਵਾਈਵ ਜਾਂ ਮਿੰਟ ਮਾਰਦੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਟਮ ਰਿਵਾਈਵ ਹੋਇਆ ਦਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਚੱਲ ਸੈਟ ਲਿਖੀ
They go down, but PXX, it will cost them their lives as well, as DCG will move in to be the final team to survive on this eastern side.
Shopify just went through the gauntlet, and how they survived that long. A lot of kills just went their way. Relove in the end, DCG will be the final team that arrives and actually picks up all of those pieces. And I love what AG Global were doing. They were bullying these teams on the east.
ਕਰ ਦੂਗੇ ਅਪਲਾਈ ਦੱਸ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਵੀ ਕਰਵਾਉਣਾ ENC ਹੋਣੇ ਨਵੰਬਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਕੱਪ
ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰ ਲੈਣੀ ਦੂਜਾ ਬੈਲੈਂਸ ਤਾਂ ਮਿਲ ਜੂਗਾ
ਸਕਰਮ ਖੇਡ ਕੇ ਵੇਖ ਲਾਂਗੇ
ਉਹ ਯਾਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਟੀਮ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ
ਤੀਜਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਹੈ
ਤੀਜਾ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੁਣ ਲਵੀ ਖੇਡ ਤਾਂ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਪਰ ਉਹ
ਕਰਨ ਲੈ ਲਾ ਕਰਨ
ਇੱਧਰ ਲੈ ਜਾਈਦਾ ਨਾਲ
We might see it again as DCG are starting to approach them, but actually you've got to be careful because GG are in the horizon here. They are having a look towards this one.
ਕ੍ਰਿਕਟ ਬਾਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ
From Yonder and AG, Fuse has been able to dominate some of these competitions so far, but Warriors now has to duck behind the bubble.
ਉਹ ਮੇਰੀ ਬੁੱਗੀ ਉਹ ਫੇਰ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਵਿੱਚੇ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਤੇ ਮੈਪ ਕੱਢ ਕੇ ਬਹਿਣ
ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕੋਚ ਰੱਖ ਲੈ
ਐਦਾਂ ਰੋਟੇਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਸੀ ਐਦਾਂ
ਕੋਚ ਰੱਖ
ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਕੰਨ ਚ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਆਉਣੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬਾਅਦ
who pushes their area.
People say always tell your mother that you love them. Not if it's coming from Fuse though, it's AG Global who keep using this motherload to cause all sorts of problems.
You also get a paycheck from this.
Goodbye. 7 squads now remain. Suddenly that passes the advantage to Zeddy now. By the way, Zeddy in second place, 2 points behind Falcons here in
intended
match 5.
wait. Now we gotta wait.
Leaders going into the final match of this
Wait
series.
for the pumpkins to grow.
So a moment of calm here, 24 seconds until the zone starts to close.
हो गए grow pumpkins.
Fourth place overall at the moment with 37 points. Wolves, but how do they get out of this building with so many teams above them, below them, surrounding them?
Well,
good luck, no name.
कितने च पई है?
If you want an actual answer, it is through
Green trailer पहले हम green trailer ले
everyone now who has Wraith still alive portaling in, and actually it's only 2 teams left with Wraith. There is an altar that's going to be available as well as Wolves trying to portal to the north side, but who's there? AG Global. You got to be careful, and instead Fun are now going to use the zip line to go north.
ਥੋੜਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਆਦਾ ਕੰਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਡ ਟੀਮ ਦੇਣਗੇ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਪੈਨ ਦੇ ਦੂਜਾ ਭੇਜ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਲਿੰਕ ਗੇਮ ਦਾ ਹਣਾ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਹਲਾ ਬਣਦਾ ਨਾ ਕੋਡ ਟੀਮ ਮੈਚ ਆ ਜਾਣਾ
This is brilliant from For Fun though, because they are only a duo, but they've been able to lock down the most north position, avoid initially AG Global, but
yeah, that would be not a game for Paul Karti.
Up this high ground on the middle layer of the building.
ਨਾ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਦੂਜਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ ਸਪੈਕਟੇਟਰ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਸਪੈਕਟੇਟਰ ਦੇ ਦੇਣਗੇ
ਹਾਂ ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਵਧੀਆ ਹੈ
ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦਾ
ਬੰਦਾ ਲੈਦਾ
ਹੁੰਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਨਾ ਆਪਦਾ ਮੈਚ
This point's got a Kraber. Kadinga, Kablam, Kabluzi is now AG.
ਲੈ ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ AG ਲੈ ਜਾਣੇ ਲੈ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਪੈਨ
It's just one remaining player, by the way, on the north. As Black get eliminated, Synetic will be sent on. Should be eliminated from the game and will be down to 4 squads.
ਇਹਦੇ ਵੀ 1000 ਨੌਕ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਸੀ ਯਾਰ ਕੀ
Boys and gymnasts almost managed to get out of there. Wolves now go down to the low ground. They have found a way to reset. They have found a way to get into this zone. Zeddy will be out of the lobby. Top 3.
Wolf ਵੀ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਮੈਚ ਜਿੱਤੀ ਆ
You have Zeta, you have AG Global, and you have Wolves.
ਨਾ ਉਧਰ ਲਾਣਾ ਉਲਟ ਮਾਰ ਗਿਆ ਉਧਰ ਉਹ ਮੈਚ ਪ੍ਰੋ ਦੀ ਉਹ ਚੱਲੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ ਬ్రో ਫੱਕ ਮੈਨ ਸ਼ੋ ਵਸਦੀ ਓਏ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਪੈਚ ਨਹੀਂ ये जीत गई बॉस गई
APAC North team, the number 1 seed coming into these groups.
वेलोडे वर्ल्ड मारी से बॉस्टन दी क्यों लगी है छह सारे साले क्यों सगी
And again they put big points on the board to keep themselves in that conversation.
Most importantly, shit 39
gain some confidence and not be down in the bottom, not be worrying about those elimination spots after the group stage games. That's going to be so big for them.
$400.
ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਈ ਜੌਬਾਂ 'ਚ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਰੱਖਾਂਗੇ ਹੋਰ ਬਟ ਆਲਸੋ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਵੀ ਟੈਸਟ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਨਾ ਵੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ 'ਚ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ
ਕਰਨਾ ਕਰੋ ਤੋਂ ਬੜੀ ਛੇਤੀ ਆ ਜਾਣਾ ਥੋੜਾ ਲੇਟ
ਮੈਂ ਰਹੂੰਗਾ ਥੋੜਾ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਕਿ ਲੇਟ ਆਇਆ ਕਰਾਂ
ਸਾਡੇ ਕਿੰਨਾ 10 ਵਜੇ ਆਇਆ ਕਰਾਂ
ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਅਸੀਂ 12-1 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਇੱਥੇ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਦੋ ਦਿਨ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੱਢ ਦੇਣਾ ਆ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਕਟ ਜੀ
Not just for APAC North's best performance, but for a team that can go on to lift that trophy when all is said and done. They'll take a little break here from the stage. That was a fantastic end game there, and I've got to say, a zone I have not seen in quite some time, all the way over to the north.
And again, it really just shows how important that composition can be if you can get to the final circle. You pointed it out, the pylon did absolute bits and wonders to be able to survive.
ਅੱਜ ਮੈਂ ਰੈਂਕ ਲਾਈ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਚ ਲੈਟ ਵੱਜ ਗਈ
All of the gunfire
ਦੇਖ ਲੈ 5 ਮਿੰਟ ਬਾਅਦ ਆ ਗਈ ਬੈਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਿਆ
still be happy with the game they just had, by the way. They dominated the entire north. Had we see Wolves pushed a little bit differently, if they'd gone towards Zeta, they probably win that game. But sometimes it's just about getting the right side or the green.
Yeah, sometimes it's about finding a Kraber and threading a needle onto a team who's jumping down onto the low ground as well. That certainly was a beautiful shot that came in that just kind of solidified what we expected to see in those final moments. But I think something that really needs to be highlighted there is the importance of Watson in that final zone as well. Fuse ults, Gibraltar ults, all raining down for numerous teams, nades flooding the zone. That pylon was it was doing more work than it ever should have to in that end game, but boy did it do a lot of work and certainly helped Zeta into that first place finish.
I mean, interestingly, throughout this series, Watson has been the most picked legend, but hasn't been banned because it wasn't the most picked in game. And with how the ban system works, as we can look at how that match went down in terms of kill points and placement points, Zeta Division in the end put up 25. All Gamers Global, they managed to put 8 points on the board through kills, 9 placement points, so still big points for them. And that makes it a very interesting race at the top. It was previously a 3-horse race that I was mentioning going into match 5, but now with those points from both of those teams, suddenly it changes things going into this 6th and final match of the series.
I would say another really impressive performance though from Wolves. We did mention how Cito was, when they would drop in, there was a pretty comfortable zone for them as far as
snap कितने देर होगा ना bro?
they were going to be playing and having the choice of what they believed was going to be the priority position. But the most important thing for me and the most important thing is how they found their way out of that stacked central main building of Cito towards that end game. Initially it wasn't looking good for them, but they got a full reset inside of the building and then were able to be involved. It's and I think if you keep that kind of consistency up, you're going to have very good results here in Paris.
Well, I mean, I think actually the Wraith portal did save them because they were able to avoid the initial fights, and perhaps people didn't even realize they were still there. So it really was.
He said touch ਕਰਦੇ ਪਏ ਸੀਗੇ
With 5 matches done, we're going to take this opportunity to go to a quick
job together.
Don't go too far. Match number 6 is going to be up.
ਪਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਨੈਪੀ ਦੂਜਾ ਸਪਾਉਨ ਕਰਨ ਸਪਾਉਨ ਦੀ ਤਾਂ ਹੈਗੀ ਚੱਲ ਦੂਜੀ ਜੋ ਜੌਬ ਵਾਲੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਮੈਂ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਸੈੱਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਸਮਾਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇ ਸਕਦਾ
ਬਟ ਤੂੰ ਲੈਗੇਸੀ ਭਰੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਲੈਗੇਸੀ ਬਣਾ ਸੀ ਨਾ
ਲੈਗੇਸੀ ਹੈ
ਰੈਂਕ ਚੱਲਦੀ
We are back. That was a quick break. That was a
ਮੈਂ
quick break.
ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਉਹ ਦੱਸ ਦੇ
ਮੈਂ
ਕਰਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਉਹ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਪਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ
split one playoffs. We've just seen 5 games done. We
have ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੇਰੇ ਸਾਹ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਪਰਮਿਸ਼ਨ
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲਵੀ ਨੇ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਇਨ ਗੇਮ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ
My favorite thing about that is sometimes esports